Very good evening to everybody. I hope you are here. Welcome. Sorry, my screen's just messing up. Hang on a second. So apologies, guys. Try it again. There we go. Much better. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the stream. Thank you for joining us today. We are here to do our list reviews. I just want to quickly check to make sure we can hear Jason on the stream. Jason, good evening.
Hello. Hi, everyone.
Yep, we can. Excellent. So, welcome everyone. We are here tonight to talk about the Fall into Darkness Chapter 1 tournament that's coming up this weekend. This is something that we've been doing for the last couple of weeks now, and we're kind of developing it more and more as we progress into the list reviewing. In this instance, we've changed it up a little bit, and hopefully it's a bit more encouraging, immersive for yourselves watching as we go through the details with you of the lists. This evening, we will be going into the details of what each opponent will be bringing, what synergizing options could be coming along, and generally what we think about them. We keep it very non-biased, and we do try not to give away any secrets or anything. Any information we do give away or do provide is fully available to everyone and anyone. So I hope you're all doing well, and if you're ready then, Jason, shall we get on with it?
Yeah, let's do it.
Awesome. Right then. Here we go. So we are looking at the Fall into Darkness Chapter 1 event that's taking place. This is being run by Jody Bedford. This is his first tournament. I think we've met Jody Bedford before in a previous tournament. I might be wrong on that one. But I think we have met him before. It certainly sounds familiar. But anyway, Jody Bedford is running the event. This is being held at one of the game stores that kind of provides miniatures and other peripherals to the hobby. Wayland Games in Hockley in the UK. I know it doesn't mean very much to the US and everything, but it's just down in the Essex area. It is a 2-day tournament with 5 rounds, and there will be 22 attendees joining this tournament. Each round lasts 2 hours 45 minutes, so getting close to the 3-hour marker that I prefer, but 2 hour 45 is a whole lot better than some recent tournaments I've attended. And in this tournament, alongside the normal awards, there are going to be a couple of special awards that Jody has advised in the battle pack that he provided all the attendees. In particular, there is one called Chosen by the Eightfold, which will be the highest kill point tally by one of the attendees. And then there's also the Cleanest Player Award, and that award is provided by the player who plays the cleanest games as voted by their opponents. So what we're going to do now, we're going to go into our presentation deck and have a look at what's potentially going to be on the board against your opponents. So here we go. So as we said, this is taking place this coming weekend, the 2nd and 3rd of September, being hosted in Hockley at the Wayland Games shop. And it's called Fall into Darkness Chapter 1. Now, as we understand, there's potentially going to be more chapters going on from this one, as this is Jody's first event. He has said that if it is a success, he'll definitely be looking to do more. So fingers crossed on that one, because Jason and I have been looking at this for a while now, whilst we've been putting all the data together, and we're actually interested in joining. Should there be future tournaments? It's not too far from both of us. So yes, fingers crossed on that. So as we move on, then here we go. We've been provided with the battle plans. The battle plans are as follows: you will be playing the Lines of Communication, Springer Trap, the Ice Fields, Power Flux, and No Risk Without Ward. Jason and I have had experience with both of these, most of these battle plans actually, come to think about it, over a couple of tournaments that we've played. Lines of Communication is relatively straightforward. This is one where whoever goes second gets the opportunity to disrupt an enemy phase. And in that phase, when an issue is commanded, the opponent has to roll d6. And on a 3-up, it costs an additional point to issue. If you choose not to continue with that command, though, your first point is still lost. So, might change in the battle plan on that one. Spring the Trap is a strange forward one, but in this one you get to elect up to D3 friendly units after the change in the GHB FAQs. D3 friendly units to be taken off the board, and then they could be set up again in the second battle, or from the second battle round onwards. Oh no, it's from the second battle round movement phase. Is that right, Jason?
Into the movement phase.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's the second battle round or after.
Come back. Okay, well, that's fine. But so basically, you can bring people on in reserve. They have to be wholly within 6 inches of the board edge and 9 inches away from all enemy troops. So you standard kind of reserve rule set. The ice fields, admittedly, is one I've not done yet. Have you tried this one, Jason?
I played this one when I was just doing tabletop against myself, my IBK versus OBR.
Okay, so this one is standard scoring, but if you run, you suffer D3 mortal wounds, and if you charge, for each one that shows, you suffer D3 mortal wounds. So there's a kind of the game plan of, do you walk up to your opponent and then kind of charge in, minimizing those mortal wounds, or do you just kind of suck it up and take the potential damage that comes at you? And the setup on that one is kind of curious. This one I've certainly looked to try and play myself. The objectives overlap to a certain extent, not a lot, but to a point they do. And yes, it can be quite a mess when armies get involved in that one. The Power Flux is a standard sort of employment, but the person who goes second gets to choose whether the A objectives or the B objectives are active. And then on the back of that, you can get your victory points on that one. And No Risk Without Ward is, I find it amusing that it's your game 5, that No Risk Without Ward, you can actually start the game in combat as opposed to the gentlemanly 9 inches away from both sides. I have tried this one, Jason's tried this one, and it can get quite brutal. I remember mine, it was against Orcs, and yes, they had all boars. I had all my squigs and my goblins, and it was, turn 1 onwards, just a lot of combat. What about you, Jason?
Middle objective, I deployed Catacross and 12 Immortus Guard straight onto that point.
Blocking off.
That was it, I was done.
Tanking it there.
That was my game there.
No, I bet.
Death Riders on the sides, just defending this corner side objectives. I didn't need to do anything else.
So, yeah, those are your 5 battle plans for the weekend. Good luck to them. It's a nice variance, admittedly. There's a couple there that are always good fun to play, and some of them that actually take a little bit more thinking than you would expect. Any thoughts on those, Jason, at all?
Only the stuff that we've already said. Ice Fields, it's interesting. It's a very interesting battle plan. You have to really be wary of how many wounds you've got left in units. I love the idea of it, though. It does kind of hamper Alpha Strike armies, because they run and charge in and they could suffer up to 3d3 mortal before they even get to you, which can really hurt. I mean, the other ones, they're fairly standard tournament ones. No Risk Without Ward is always a fun one. Deploying into combat is just weird.
It's just crazy. No, absolutely.
But it's good fun. They're different.
So moving on then, we've actually done a kind of little bit of stats on this one. There was something that a previous tournament did in the lead up to it, and we really liked what they did. So we're kind of taking that kind of premise along. So as we move on now, list overview. So here we've provided everyone with the number of armies that relate to the number of drops. As you can see, the majority have taken a 1 drop. 9 of the armies have taken a 1 drop. You have a couple in 3, 7 drops, 2, 10 drops, 2, and we're not joking when we say this. There is one list that has a 23 drop count. That is correct, 23. That's without doubt the biggest drop count I have ever seen myself. It'll be so amusing to see how that one goes. And in this, we've also provided you with the 1 drop armies here, 2 of which are in both cases LRL and the Slaves to Darkness are both 2 armies in your pack are going as 1 drop. The rest of them all singles. So yeah, moving on from there though, faction overview. The most taken faction is the Soulblight Gravelords. You love to see it. But admittedly, only 3 lists are Soulblight Gravelords. So it does show you the variance of what is being brought to the tournament. At the same time, though, we've got an absent but not forgotten area with 11 armies or 11 factions that have not been selected. Now, you can understand with some of them. Other ones did surprise me. So you've got the cities, you've got Flesh Eater Courts, Maggotkin of Nurgle. Obviously, our Bone Reapers is not being taken, which is very interesting considering the current state of the meta. Slaanesh, Idoneth Deepkin, the Nighthaunt, Ogre Moor Tribes, Seraphon, again, another surprise for us all on that one. Skaven and Daughters of Cain. So 11 factions you will not see on the board. So yeah, kind of a mix on that one. Does that surprise you though, Jason, with the whole Seraphon and OBR not being played?
You see them everywhere. It's just going to be such an interesting list without interesting tournament without them in there.
Yeah.
I play OBR, so I love them no matter what, however annoying they are to everyone. But with Null Myriad and the Mortis Guard, they do just bung up battlefields. So you can't do anything against them. Seraphon just clears boards.
Yeah, kind of with the Starborn list and everything. I am surprised.
I think
it's going to be good. It's going to be really good to see a tournament where it doesn't have these two forces kind of monopolizing the top tables. And it will be curious to see how it kind of settles down coming into Game 3 and Game 4. I know myself, particularly as the tournament goes on, I'll be keeping an eye on BCP just to see how that's all kind of playing out. But ultimately, a variance, a definite variance on it all. So here we go. We're going to go into the first slide then. And as you'll see, we're going to go through what is in the army list, how it's kind of transfigured against the core battalions that the individual has selected. And then we'll pick up some of the special rules and elements that kind of almost makes that army work. So here we go. Alphabetical order. We start with Adam Alford. He is bringing the Soulblight Gravelords in the Legion of Night, and his grand strategy is Empire of Corpses. So as you can see on the screen, it'll be for the same for everyone else's screen. I've given the details of the subfaction and the grand strategy requirements. In this case, for Legion of Night, Adam has the opportunity to do a counter charge when in the enemy charge phase. So once an enemy has charged, he has the opportunity to counter charge. And also he gets the option of a hero action teleport. So on his heroic actions, he can teleport a hero. Now, if I remember correctly, the hero can't actually move after teleporting, but it's still an option to get it around the board. The grand strategy, Empire of Corpses, is that he has to replace 3 summonable units by the end of the battle. Looking into what he's brought then, he has brought Manfred von Karstein. Manfred has a Waste Away spell. That is a casting value of 6 and 18-inch range. He gets to select an enemy unit, and it provides a -1 to wound and -1 to damage. Now, for Soulblight spells, if they get a casting roll of 9 or more, in this instance, they get a bonus. And with Waste Away, it's actually going to be he can select 2 units to suffer the debuff. Pretty nice to start off with. He then has his Necromancer as his general with the command trait of Shaman of the Chilled Lands, which for anyone who has played before generally means that they get access to all the GHB spell lore. Pretty nasty. But he also gets to choose a second spell because it's just a standard one, and he's gone with Fading Vigor. Fading Vigor is a casting value of 6 with an 18-inch range. He gets to, if he does this, he selects an enemy unit. They have a -1 to their attack profile, and if he gets a 9+ on the casting roll, they actually go to -2 attacks on their profile. Coming up on the back of that, though, we have 2 Vampire Lords, one with the artifact of Morbeg's Claw. You see this quite often with the Soulblight Gravelords. Morbeg's Claw is Islong, as the model who holds it is more than 3 inches out from enemy units. They get to add +2 to casting rolls for all friendly wizards wholly within 12 inches of that individual. So pretty nice. And that kind of blends in well with the Primal Frost Merciless Blizzard spell that he's selected here, with a natural casting value of 12. That brings it down to 10 if he stays outside of that, benefiting from his artifact. And then on top of that, there's another Vampire Lord who's bought Spirit Gale. Spirit Gale has a casting value of 7, and it is board wide. Every enemy unit, should I say, on the board takes a mortal wound, and if he casts it on a 9+, they take 2 mortal wounds. Going into the battle line, though, we have 40 Deadwalker zombies, 10 direwolves, 3 Felbats, 3 Felbats, 3 Felbats. Now, this is interesting. He's actually bought 8 Askurgan Trueblades. Now, Jason and I actually had to do kind of a bit of homework on this one, because this isn't a unit we normally see, and we will go into that in a second. But on top of that, then he has 20 Graveguard and 1 Corpse Cart. With the Askurgan Trueblades, now this is a unit, like I said, we haven't seen too often. They come in at 2 wounds apiece, 4 up save with a bravery of 10. And they have 3 abilities written into the war scroll. The first one, the Hunger. So after fighting, they heal a number of wounds equal to the number of wounds inflicted. Now, Jason and I initially thought, well, hang on a second, if they're 2 wounds a model, that's really kind of negligible because you're only ever going to gain 1 wound. But it turns out that a number of the models in the unit actually go up to 4 wounds. I believe it's 2 models in the unit. Is that right, Jason?
2 models, yeah.
2 models, yeah. So that immediately then suggests the opportunity of getting like 3 wounds healed back up, as long as that model's not been taken off the board. They also have Gut-Wrenching Howl, which is at the end of the charge phase, you roll d6 for each enemy unit within 1 inch of this unit, and on a 4-up, they strike last. If you have a champion model in there called a Curse Blood, it actually goes to a 3-up, they strike last, so very nice. And then finally, they have Creed of the Beast, which is any monsters that go into that unit get a -1 to hit and a -1 to wound against the True Blades. And then in return, if the monster is killed by the True Blades get +3 to the move and +1 to the attack profile. That is also cumulative. So if they go off to kill a second monster, that adds on again. So you can get kind of a good thing going with them if it goes all correctly. Moving on then, they also have the Malevolent Maelstrom and Suffocating Gravetide, so 2 fairly straightforward spells. They've taken a Battle Regiment and Antorian Acolytes at 2k on the nose, 7 drops, and a UK BCP ranking of 3224. Now, before I start going into Jason, one thing I want to say about the UK BCP rankings, we keep this in there to give you an idea of how much they've played or how well they've potentially played. We know that on average there's about 10,000 UK BCP rankings active at this stage. So at 3,224, it's a pleasant place to be in. Jason, your thoughts?
40 zombies. As OBR, I have always not liked fighting Soulblight because the matchup just doesn't work brilliantly. 40 zombies with the mortals that can come out of those is scary.
Yeah.
I'm really, really interested in those True Blades. They look really, really interesting to play with. Some of their abilities they're going to hang about. You're going to have to really concentrate on them to actually knock them down and kill them. Malevolent Maelstrom, I've learnt from previous battles, that is just a great spell. Simple as that.
Yeah. Yep.
And with the ability, with a lot of their spells, there's a lot of debuffs that can be fairly easily cast with the magic dispel, everything that everyone can do at the minute. I think it's going to do well. I think it's
a well-rounded list.
40 zombies. Graveguard with Hoarfrost is really good as well.
Yeah.
I fought them as well.
Yeah, it's a good one.
I like it.
Yes.
It should do well, I think.
Agreed. To be honest, with the Corpse Cart, he chose the Unholy Lodestone as well. So with that one, basically, wizards wholly within 12 inches of that Corpse Cart get +1 to their casting as well. So with that Vampire Lord, the Morbeg's Claw could potentially get up to +3 on his casting, if not more. Because you then also get the Antorian Acolytes. He's part of the Antorian Acolytes, so potential more Primal Nice. And so that's just kind of buffing it all up further. Yeah, well, Adam, I know you're in the chat and everything. That sounds, your list looks really good. He's actually come in to say he's going to teleport. He could teleport Manfred, cast Maelstrom. Then Wind of Death is a nice combo. Then Wind of Death finishing up, making a nice combo. So yeah. So moving on then. We then move on to Alan Anderson. He's bringing Stormcast Eternals. Now it's kind of cool seeing Stormcast coming back. You're seeing it more and more in the tournaments for an army that is quite low in the current percentage winning stake. It's curious to see that in this army, in this particular tournament, there's two, I believe, two Stormcast players. So thank you very much for playing them, I would say. He's gone with Scions of the Storm. So for each unit deployed on the battlefield, they can set another one in reserve. The sub-faction is the Hammers of Sigmar, so a 6-up ward for units wholly within 12 inches of an objective. Grand strategy is Pillars of Victory. So his requirements are that the only battle line units left on the field are Redeemer units. Now the Redeemer units in this army are the Protectors, I do believe. No, it can't be. It has to be his Liberators. Liberators are the
Vanquishers, Vindictors.
Yeah, no, sorry. So it'll be okay. So cool. Thank you, Jason.
Lose Fulminators from battle line, and then everything else is fine because it's only count the battle line.
Yeah,
the Fulminators have to die.
The Fulminators do have to die. Yes, and you know what? That's harder than it sounds. And then he has got the Triumph of the Bloodthirsty, which he has the opportunity of potentially getting. His leaders are Lord Relictor, who's the general. Now on this one, he's gone with the command trait of High Priest. So it's quite simple, makes him a priest. And with that, he's given him the Translocation Prayer. Now, Translocation Prayer is the answering value of 3 and a 12-inch range. And it's literally what it sounds like. You can teleport a model or unit to another place on the board, 9 inches outside of the enemy units. He then has a Lord Castellant with the Arcane Tome. Once again, a relatively straightforward artifact, giving him the option to cast spells and dispel. Then he then has a Knight Incantor with a spell of Celestial Blades. Now, Celestial Blades has a casting value of 5 and a 12-inch range, and he gets to choose a friendly unit who get a +1 to wound in melee. So pretty nice for the Stormcast on that one. Battle line coming in with a standard unit of Liberators, standard unit of Liberators, Dracothian Guard Fulminators. Now that's reinforced by the looks of it, so that's 4 Fulminators in that unit. He then has Vanguard Raptors with the long strike crossbows. That's been reinforced once by the looks of it, so that's 6 Vanguard Raptors shooting there. A unit of Aetherwings, a reinforced unit of Protectors, and then a unit of Vanguard Hunters. So what we're looking at here is with the Vanguard Raptors, the long strike crossbows, each model does 2 shooting attacks with a 30-inch range. They are hitting on 3s, wounding on 2s with -2 and 2 damage. With that, those 6s to hit do 2 mortal wounds and the sequence ends. Further to that, you can understand why he's then taking the Aetherwings. If there's an enemy unit within 12 inches of the Aetherwings, the Vanguard Raptors then get a +1 to hit, making it 2s and 2s for their standard profile. So that's quite a nice combination there. The Protectors, so long as they have at least half their unit with standard weapons, which he has done in this instance, they get a +1 to their save, meaning that they are now on a 2-up save instead of a 3-up save, and they have 5 attacks each and 3 wounds. So quite a nice unit there. And then the Vanguard Hunters, I had to actually look at this unit because I wasn't sure who they were. They are almost a scout unit. 2 wounds apiece on a 4-up save. It's a 5-man unit, but they have a thing called an Astral Compass, which instead of moving, essentially they teleport anywhere wholly within 6 inches of the board edge and 9 inches away from all enemies, so giving a lot of movement versatility there. He's only gone with the Antorian Acolytes in this instance. So on this one, he's gone with Lord Castellan and Knight Incantor, 1980 on a 10-drop. And what I want to ask, I want to speak to Jason about is he hasn't opted to go for any others. He could have gone with a Battle Edge in this instance and brought his drops down, but he's chosen not to, which is completely optional. But what are your thoughts on that and the list in total?
I like Stormcast. I like the fact of heavily armored, just walk into battle. Okay, Fulminators not so much; they're scary. But like you, I saw this and just thought he may not actually care about drops.
No.
May not, but then there's no reason not to do it and just possibly getting the choice. You can still go second or first or second if you choose.
Yeah.
Either that or doing something like one of the other core battalions. It just gives you free commands.
Mm-hmm.
There's
There's
things
options.
that could be done.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there are any little additionals. They're not actually needed to fight.
No.
Which is the main thing I will say there.
Yeah.
Apart from that, yeah, I think it's a nice little list. Like I said, I like Stormcast.
It's interesting to see the Vanguard Raptors coming back. You haven't seen them for a long time, since they got a little bit of the nerf when it stopped them getting the shooting twice, all the units shooting twice and everything. But it's nice to see them making a return. And where Alan has actually used the Eighth Wings, I'm assuming, has used the Eighth Wings to potentially help buff the shooting on that one. Yes, but like you said earlier on, though, those Fulminators have to die. So if you're playing against Alan, run away from his Fulminators and he loses his grand strategy.
Well, if you imagine that's a 4 units, 6 wounds. That's 24 wounds on a 3-up save.
On our standard, yeah, so that can go up
Yeah,
even further from there.
3-up save.
But they're punchy.
They'll be hard to shift, but they've got to be. He's got to get them shifted.
Perhaps he feels confident enough that he doesn't need the grand strategy points, and you know, and he's going to be fine without them. But Alan, yes, good list there, sir, and good luck with that one. We now move on to Fire Slayers with Bailey Alistair. He's brought in Fire Slayers with the sub-faction of Greyfeared. Greyfeared allows each foot hero to gain a +1 wound. In addition, you also get to elect to have 2 additional artifacts in your army list. He's gone with the grand strategy of Masters of the Forge. In this one, he has to ensure that an invocation remains on the board at the end of the battlefield. At the end of the battle, with the chance of a triumph, he's gone with Inspired. His leaders are numerous and many. One and the same thing. He has got an Auric Flamekeeper, just standard. He's got an Auric Rune Sun with the just a war axe. He's opted not to go with a spear, and then he's given him the adornment of the hand-carved Nullstone. Now the Nullstone, I always get this wrong, Jason. That's the one where he can keep dispelling if he's successful. Is that right?
Yeah.
That is
That's
cool. I'm learning something along the way then. That's good. That's good. We then have his general coming in, an Auric Runefather, bringing in the Spear of Grimnir. So basically the Fire Slayers, they get a bonus at the start of their turns using a different rune each battle round. Normally you roll dice, and if you roll 6, you get an enhanced version of the bonus. But with the Spear of Grimnir, that changes to a 5-up. So on a 5-up, he'll be getting his enhanced bonus to each of his runes. He then chose the Axe of Grimnir, which is a great addition for the Runefather. An additional -1 to rend and +1 to damage for his melee weapon. And as he only has one melee weapon, it's a good combination. He then has the Rune Master in with the Volatile Brazier. The Volatile Brazier offers the opportunity to re-roll failed invocation castings. And then if he is successful with the invocation, it then has double the normal range of setup. He's then given him the Prayer of Curse. So quite a standard one. 6 is he selects a friendly unit, and 6 is to wound. No, 6 is to wound, do a mortal in addition to normal. He then has an Auric Rune Smiter. Now with this one, he's given him the Runic Iron. He then has given him the artifact. Well, it's not artifacts in this one. It's an Ash Cloud rune, and basically once per battle, he can opt to create a 12-inch bubble around that model, creating a line of sight blocking for spell casting against them, and that will last until his next hero phase. He then has taken the Prayer Emberstorm, which I believe is the one where he can run and charge. He can select a friendly unit to run and charge in the same turn. Battle line then, he's gone with 10 Volkite Berserkers with the Bladed Sling Shields. Straightforward. 15 Hearthguard Berserkers with pole axes. 15 Hearthguard Berserkers with broad axes. He then has good old Grimwrath Berserker coming in with a draft of Magmalt Ale, and then finishing off with an Ender Spell with the invocation of the Molten Inferno. In this one, to maximise his artifacts and get as many as he has done, he's taking 2 Warlord battalions, allowing pretty much all of his heroes to have an artifact. Now, some of you may be wondering, why has he got 7 heroes? He hasn't. A Grimwrath Berserker does not count as a leader. It counts as a hero, but not as a leader, so you can still do heroic actions with him, and you can do best day ever with him, but he does not count towards your leader count. Hence why he is not under the 6 limit on this instance. Overall, a great list. I am a Fire Slayers player myself, as I rub my eyes, excuse me. And a lot of this rings true with me. I'm a Gravefield player myself, and I really enjoy the benefits that they provide over any of the other faction options they have. Having the Rune Father, the Spirit of Grimnir, and the Axe of Grimnir is exactly how I take it as well. Rune Master Volatile Brazier is a great addition if you have the space for the artifact. Taking the Rune Smiter, allowing a bit of movement shenanigans, as he can take a unit underground and pop up 9 inches away from enemies. So great of moving your dwarfs, considering how slow they can be. And then the Grimwrath Berserker with a draft of Magmalt Ale doubles his attacks for 1 combat phase. Now, if you can get it right and in the right place, I've had it where my Grimwrath Berserker has been up to 10 attacks, best day evering, all out attacking, and he is 2s and 2s at -2 for 2 damage apiece on 10 attacks. And if you then let him die, he gets to do it all over again. So plenty of potential damage coming out from that Grimwrath. Jason, your thoughts are, he's 1970 points, 10 drop, but they don't care with Fire Slayers. 10 drops absolutely fine. Jason, sorry sir, what do you think?
This is similar to your list, like we were saying. 15 Hearthguard Berserkers are going to be hard to shift. You know how. Well, you especially know. When they're within a certain range of a hero, they get 4+ ward, so it's 5+ 4+. I always struggle with getting rid of them. Always have done. That's going to be interesting to play. I do really like the list. It's just a really nice army just to run in and just run in and smack. Yeah, that's it. I mean, your movement is limited, but then that's where you have your Rune of Movement to get the extra range for that 1 turn. A really nice little list. He's got all the buffs there that he needs. Yeah, can't say anything about it really. It is a really nice. It's going to be a strong list. Molten Inferno once again. Invocations. There are a lot more. There seems to be a lot more priests out these days. But even then, Molten Inferno, you just with your Forge as well, you'll get it out again and again. So
yeah, exactly. Banksy's also pointed out that, and he made a good point, with the Rune Smiter and the Ash Cloud Rune, it's nice to see the Ash Cloud Rune actually getting a bit of board time. It was very much kind of a push out to the side, it's not really worth it, but with the prevalence of magic, great ability to kind of hopefully protect your troops against the magic onslaught. And basically saying that, though, I forgot to say that Bashar Smith does have the Null Obsidian icon, which is a 12-inch bubble around him. And units wholly within a 12-inch bubble have a 4-up spell ignore. So that's quite nice as well to have in there. So yes. Overall, though, a very strong list there. And I hope it does well. Good luck, Bailey. So, moving on. We now have Ben Swainson bringing in his Slaves to Darkness. He's gone with Host of the Chosen, which is the benefit on that one is a 5-up rally instead of a normal 6-up for Chaos Chosen, Chaos Knights, and Chaos Warriors. In addition, he gets to also choose an extra Ensorcelled banner. He went with the grand strategy of Overshadow, so essentially all enemy battle lines have to be destroyed, and at least one friendly battle line has to be alive at the end of the battle. His leaders are a Chaos Sorcerer Lord who's brought along the Marcus Lanesh. Now, with this one, I do admit I have to go to the notes on mine because I'm not so aware of Slaves to Darkness. But in this instance, though, the Lanesh marker that gives the Chaos Sorcerer Lord a +1 to charge and a +1 to run as well, which is an odd one, I have to admit, for the Chaos Sorcerer Lord, but I'm sure there's probably a tactic behind it. He's got the artifact of a Chaos Familiar. So once per battle, the Chaos Familiar allows him to cast an extra spell. He can choose any from the lore, from the book's lore. And then he's gone with a Demonic Speed spell. This is a casting value of 7 and 12-inch range. And essentially, you can put it on a friendly unit. And as long as they're within 18 inches of an enemy unit, they can do a 3d6 charge. His general, though, is a Chaos Lord and Karkadrak. He's gone with the Mark of Chaos being Nurgle in this instance. So on this one, it's a -1 to wound against that Chaos Lord whenever he's in combat. In addition, he has the option of using a command ability that in the combat phase, he can pick a friendly unit after they have fought. And each enemy unit, within 3 inches of that unit, takes D3 mortal wounds. He then also has the command trait of Idolator Lord, which makes him a priest. But in addition to that, it also gives any Corvus Cabal units and Iron Golems an opportunity to choose a Mark of Chaos, which they normally don't have access to. And then we'll see that, as you can see in the list here. And then he went with the Prayer of Curse. In the battle line, though, he's gone with a reinforced unit of Chaos Chosen. So that will be 20? Or was that 10? I'm not sure on that one. But a reinforced unit of Chaos Knights, so that is 10 Chaos Knights there. Then he's gone with a standard unit of Iron Golem with the Mark of Nurgle. A reinforced unit of Varangard, so that's 6 Varangard bombing down the battlefield, and then a standard unit of Corvus Cabal with the Mark of Nurgle. Now, going through it, the Chaos Chosen have got the Mark of Chaos Silverness, so in this instance, they get the +1 to run and +1 to charge. Chaos Knights, as I said, with the Mark of Nurgle.
A second.
So go for it.
Someone's mentioned, I was going to say to you as well, the Mark of Sinesh on the Chaos Sorcerer Lord. It's so there's a Sinesh hero to issue the command ability to the
right.
Chaos
Yes,
Chosen.
no, that's right. They can. Yes, in the charge phase, they can pick a friendly unit who ran that turn, and they can then charge in the same phase. That's right. Yes, thank you. Thank you to the stream on that one. Thank you for that one. Makes complete sense now. Admittedly, with the Chaos Chosen, they've gone with the banner of Screaming Flesh. With that one, the banner of Screaming Flesh is a +1 attack if the unit charges. The eroding icon on the Chaos Knights, they get to reduce the rend of attacks coming into units by 1. So any attacks going into Chaos Knights, they lose 1 of their rend. The Iron Golem, like I said, gone with Nurgle, so we know what that one is already. The Vanguard had the Mark of Chaos for Khorne. So once again, on the charge, if they charge, they get +1 to the attacks profile, which makes them even more lethal. They're already pretty lethal, but why not make them just a bit more? And then Corvus Cabal coming in also with the Mark of Nurgle. We've gone in with a battle regiment on this one, and Ben sits at 2k on the nose, 1 drop, and a UK BCP ranking of 2164. So, Jason, what are your thoughts on this?
Powerhouse, Alpha Strike, just getting in there, run and charge on the Chaos Chosen. Chaos Knights incredibly fast anyway, Varangard incredibly fast. Yeah. I've heard good things about Iron Golems, never actually fought them though, so I would expect them to be more along the lines of backline objective grabbers slowly coming up the board.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just going to be basically get out. They're going to try and pin you in, basically, as far as when I fought armies like this before. Pin you in, knock you down, and just keep going. Because, I mean, you got your Chaos Lord and okay, Karkadrak.
Karkadrak, yes, Karkadrak.
Yeah. I always have to think about that one. He's really powerful as well. I like him. Chaos Sorcerer Lord, simple hero, nothing special, but I mean, it's a spellcaster, simple as that. In this day and age, a simple spellcaster is really good.
Yeah, and they also don't they get the opportunity to roll on the Isle of the Gods table as well? So they have potential buffing up from there, if I remember correctly. Mm-hmm. So
turning into the Demon Prince.
You can take. I don't know if you want him to, but a lot of people think that's a step down in the wrong direction. Yeah, it's a very standard list, and with the Vanguard and Chaos Knights, I know you've fought a similar list like that. I've fought a list of a similar list in the past in tournaments with this, And when you have both the Knights and the Vanguard just coming into your front lines, they can hold you up. They can hold you
I
up.
was
And
lucky when I had the OBR Harvester old rules. So they
right.
took out all but like 1 or 2 of my Mortec. The Harvester brought half of them back again. So when they used their second attack ability, or attack twice ability, I should say, and they had to attack the same Mortex, I wouldn't let them bust. I held the Vanguard up from getting into my key units.
Yeah.
But
No.
they can punch a hole in the middle of your line and just go through and hit again, and it's scary.
Oh, it is scary. Particularly the Vanguard, they have fell spears attached to them. All of the 6 fell spears attached. And admittedly, they've still got movement shenanigans with this one, because the Corvus Cabal, they have 2 particular rules. One of them is death from above. So long as they're wholly within cover, they are not visible to the enemy. And in addition to that, they can be set up in reserve. So they have the option of being a lot, brought onto the board in different locations, maximizing potential, capturing back objectives of their opponents. It's a well-rounded list. Yeah, I can understand why he's done what he's done. So good luck now on that one, Ben. Let's move on. Callum McDougall, sorry, bring in Silverness for us, and he's gone with a sub-faction of Harvestboon. So after deployment, his Revenant Seekers can move up to 12 inches. That's 12 inches before any moves take place. His grand strategy is spellcasting Savant, so basically he needs to keep his Wizard General alive. With his points as they are, he's gone with the option of the Inspired Triumph. And then he gets to choose a Season of War, which is kind of like an additional benefit for the army. In this instance, he's gone with the Dwindling, and which means that in the hero phase, not just his own, in the hero phase, he can reroll one of his casting, dispelling, or unbinding rolls. Okay, so that's every hero phase you can potentially do that. Coming in with the Warsong Revenant as the general, he's gone with the command trait Spell Singer. So Spell Singer in this instance, I can't actually remember what Spell Singer does. Jason, do you know off the top of your head?
This way?
The Spell Singer, a command trait. That's the one thing I didn't write down on my notes. Whilst Jason's checking it out for us, though, he's gone with the Hawfrost spell, and then he's also got the Verdant Blessing spell. So the Verdant Blessing is a casting value of 6 and 18-inch range, and if he successfully does that, he gets to set up an Awakened Wildwood terrain within the range of it, and more than 3 inches from anything, and that includes models, terrain pieces, objectives, the whole shebang.
Spellbringer
go for it.
Means you can choose one of when you attempt to cast a spell, you can basically cast it from an Awakened Wildwood. You do all your range and visibility from that Wildwood rather than the caster.
Right. Yes. Now that sounds familiar. Yeah. Sorry, guys. Sorry on that one.
But you can't do endless spells through that though.
No, not endless spells. Not through the Awakened Wildwood. No, absolutely. It's just from normal spells. He then has a Knight Incantor coming in as an ally option. He then has brought in a Tree Lord Ancient with the Vespal Gem. With that one, I believe it's the healing. Do you want to check that one out, Jason? My notes on that one are awfully limited, so apologies on that, guys. But he then does have the Tree Song spell. That is a casting value of 7 and a 16-inch range. And he can pick one Awakened Wildwood within range. And until the next hero phase, any friendly units wholly within 9 inches of that Wildwood get +1 to their end of their melee attacks. So quite nice. Have you been able to find the Vespal Gem?
Getting there. There it is.
That's cool. But whilst he's having a look at that one, I'll carry on. With the battle line, he has got a reinforced unit of Revenant Seekers. Go on, Jason.
I was going to say, once per turn, it's an auto cast for a spell, cannot be unbound.
Okay, so it wasn't the healing one.
But you have to roll a dice. On a 1, the bearer suffers D3.
Which isn't really anything for a Tree Lord Ancient. No, that's fair enough. But yes, he's got a reinforced unit of Revenant Seekers in this one. 2 normal units of Tree Revenants, a Tree Lord, and then Gossamer Archers bringing it in. And then he also then has a Spike Swarm Hive and Horrorghast Endless Spells. Now, the one thing to consider with this one, that with those Revenant Seekers, they have some special abilities. They have Harvesters of the Lamentary, which once per turn, at the end of the movement phase, they can pick one Silverness unit wholly within 12 inches of themselves, and with wounds characteristic of 5 or less, they can then return one slain model. They can do that to themselves. So that is an option they have. At the same time, they also have the ability Thrumming with Life. So at the end of each phase, any enemy model slain by that unit allows you to heal all wounds allocated to the remaining models. So that's quite nice for that, particularly when you've got a reinforced. That's 6 models, 30 wounds, 30 wounds in that unit. So quite a nice block there. The tree revs also have some nice unique rules to them. Their standard bearer, so just the standard, allows them a 6-inch paladin, so long as they have a standard in the group. Their musician allows them to redeploy and teleport, which I'm sure that's what they'll be used for most part. They're going to teleport around the board instead of moving normally. And they also have martial memories, which means once per battle, they can either have an all-out attack or all-out defense for free. So that's quite cool. Gossiping Archers, of course, we know about them. If they receive the Unleash Hell, after they've completed that, they get to opt to retreat if they so wish to, which of course you will want to. And then they also have the Larval Shafts, which means any unmodified 6s to hit do D3 mortal wounds, and then the sequence ends, as opposed to going through the rolls and then getting only 2 damage. So nice little buff there. He has the Battle Regiment at 1970, 1 drop. And watch out for this fella. He comes in at 650 on the UK BCP rankings. So he has done awfully well in the past. Jason, your thoughts?
Really nice list. I think so. I've played the Revenant Seekers before, and exactly as you said it, they're big models for what they are. 6 model. Was it 6 models in it or 4 models?
6 models.
But anyway, either way,
no 6. Yeah.
It's a big block, and they just are hard. They're not hard to kill, but they're hard to keep killed because they just keep coming back and heal themselves and everything. Exactly what you think. I think the tree remnants will be used just to jump around, capture back objectives, all that sort of stuff, which would be great. Yeah. I don't know how I'll deal with this list because it's just very moving.
Very mobile. I've always struggled with Silverness with any army I've played. Their ability to phase away after fighting has always been I just can't get my head around. Clearly, that just shows my capabilities on the battlefield. And the Warsong Revenant is a model to be feared as well, particularly in these times with the Primal Dice. It's a nice round list, and a Knight Incantor also kind of coming in to help support the Silverness on the Magic front as well. So it's a nice, well-rounded list on this one, and it's nice to see it outside of your standard Tree Lord build, which is nothing wrong with that because there is a subfaction built purely for the Tree Lord build, but it's nice to see kind of like a mixture coming in on this one. Yeah. So, Callum, good luck on that one. I hope you do well. We now move on to Chris Elliott, bringing in Beasts of Chaos. Now, this list is just mad. Okay, so his subfaction is Gav Spawn, which means he can include gibbering congregations in his army. Now, you think someone may want to take 1 unit, maybe 2 and things. No. His grand strategy is spellcasting Savant, which means he has to keep his Wizard General alive, and he's gone with the option of an Inspired Triumph. His leaders are a Great Brave Shaman with the Merciless Blizzard spell. He has got a Beast Lord with the Slitherback Helm. Now, the Slitherback Helm means that after the bearer finishes a charge, he rolls a dice for 1 enemy unit within 1 inch of him. On a 2+, they have a Strike Last effect on them. The Beasts of Chaos Sangor Shaman, being his general, coming in with a Slake Flay Reveler. So long as the general is on the battlefield, they get to, add 3 inches to move for friendly units that start their move within 6 inches of a terrain feature, board wide. So allows a lot more movement. And if you consider the idea that on most battlefields you have at least 8 pieces of terrain of varying sizes, it's not too hard to start within 6 inches of one. He then comes in with the Blade Blast Trumpet, which allows once per battle at the end of the move phase he can roll dice, and on a 2+ he can summon either 1 unit of 10 Gores or 1 unit of Ungor Raiders. Now, if he rolls a 1, it still comes on, but it's delayed by a turn. So he still gets the benefit on it. He then has the spell Vicious Stranglethorns. This is a casting value of 5 and an 18-inch range. He gets to pick an enemy unit within range, and if he does so, they do not get to opt to pile in the combat phase. He then has one more Grey Shaman coming in with the Merciless Blizzard, and here is the madness. He has 6 sets of Morgurite Chaos Spawns in Gibbering Congregation. Now, each set has 3 separate spawns. That means that he has 18 spawns running around the field. Okay, that is it. Now, on top of that, he has a Chaos Gargant, which allows for extra buffs and around them all. The thing about the Morgurite Chaos Spawns, though, is that whenever they are in combat with a unit, the unit's attack profile is reduced by 1. And this is cumulative. So if he has more than 1 Chaos Spawn in combat with a unit, they go down -1, -2, -3, and they keep going to a minimum of 1. This list is just mental. It's crazy. He's only gone with a Warlord Battalion to get the extra the extra artifact, and he's coming in at 1980 with a 23 drop count, and his UK BCP ranking is 1942. Thoughts, Jason?
Absolutely crazy. I love it. Simple as that, really. I absolutely love this army. It's just going to be weird to see on the board. What I will say is the 3 units, although they are classed as a group, they are individual units, so they don't have to play road coherency or anything. They can just do whatever they want.
Yeah.
It's insane having that many
When we
Chaos
saw
Spawn
this
on the board.
on BCP, we had to like blink a couple of times and just like, what? It's like, what's going on?
I absolutely love this list, though.
This is mental. This is mental. So yeah, I do wonder how this will work. I think this will probably do really well, just considering how meme-list it almost is. And I feel sorry for Chris having to pay 18 of these in identical models time and time again on it. One thing I would also say is those Chaos Spawns can also run in charge, just get as an inherent ability. So they're going to be sprinting across the field, particularly if they get the extra 3-inch move on top, or if they're within 6 inches of a terrain feature. So yeah.
One more thing to mention for this list.
Sorry?
Which is the number of Chaos Spawn.
What was that, Jason?
You take them in groups of the Chaos Spawn in this, remember, you take them in groups of 3.
Yeah.
So on the War Scroll, you just be careful with the number of Chaos Spawn you put on there, because you've technically got 16 Chaos Spawn, which is 5 1/3. We all know you're going to take, because it's a group of 3, we all know it's going to be 18. 15, 16, 17, 18. So yeah, just be careful of that one.
Yeah, it was just something that we did pick up on when we were doing the list teching at our end, is that you, Chris, if you are watching, you were 2 Chaos Spawn short on your list. So just make sure that you're not going with an unstrength unit. But ultimately, though, that's how you got to 23 drops instead of 21. So
points were right.
Points are all okay. Yeah, we made sure on that one and everything. So everything's all been paid for. He was just two Chaos Spawn short on his actual BCP list. So that was all. Good luck though, Chris. It's mad. It's just mad. Okay. So Daniel George bringing in the Orc War Clans. He's gone with Cruel Boys on this one. Pure Cruel Boys. He's gone with the subfaction of the Grinning Blades, which means friendly Grinning Blades units are not visible to enemy units that are more than 12 inches away from them. Nice. He's gone with a good old strategy of War, which means either his general or battle line unit have to be wholly within enemy territory at the end of the battle. He then brings in Gobsprack, a fantastically brilliant piece at the moment with the current GHB. He's bringing in 2 killer bosses on Great Nashtooth. He has a Snatcher boss on Sludge Raker Beast as his general, with the command trait of super sneaky, which means in this instance, if the general is about on the battlefield at the start of the first battle round, before the first turn is decided, he gets to pick one friendly Crawl Boys unit, and he can set it up again anywhere he wants on the battlefield, 9 inches away from all enemy units. He has the Arcane Tome attached to the Snatcher boss, and then he's got the mount trait of Fasten, which means that once per battle in his hero phase, he can allow that Snatcher boss to make a move. He then has a Swarmcaller Shaman with the Potgrot with Sneaky Miasma. Sneaky Miasma is a casting value of 6 and an 18-inch range. Pick a friendly monster in range, and if successful, that monster can move. Now, considering the only monster he has that is friendly in this battlefield is Gobsback, guess who that one's getting casted on? And then he has another Swarmcaller Shaman with Choking Mist, casting value of 7, 24-inch range, and he gets to pick a point on the battlefield and within range and visible. All units within 6 inches are affected, and they all suffer -1 attacks to their profile. Moving on from there though, he has 2 units of 10 Gut Rippers, 2 units of Hobgob Slitters, he's allied in some Spider Riders, and then he has 2 sets of Man Skewer Bolt Boys with 2 Battle Regiments and an Antorian Acolytes. He comes in at 6 drop and 2k on the nose. We do not have a UK BCP ranking. But before I hand this over to Jason for his thoughts on this one thing we've got to consider though is with those Gut Rippers, they have scare tactics. So long as they're not fighting a monster or a hero, it's a -1 to hit against that unit. The Hobgob Slitters have exploding 6s. It's part of their thing. And then the Spider Riders, being Spider Riders, they also have mortal wounds on their spears. Admittedly, apparently for some reason, the Spider Riders don't put their venom on their arrows, just on their spears. Why? We don't know. Thanks, Games Workshop. But they have the opportunity to do some mortal wound output as well. But Jason, with 6 drop though, and a fairly set up list on that one, what are your thoughts?
I've never fought Crawl Boys. I've heard amazing things about Man Skewer Bolt Boys. Gobsprack he doesn't need an introduction. It's scary, especially in this day and age. It's thing. I honestly don't know what to expect from this one. I think it could be quite scary. It's Crawl Boys, so it's all about little sneaky tactics and things. So I don't know. Spider Riders, I'm guessing that's just a points thing.
Yeah.
Just they fit, but yeah. I honestly don't know. I think it could be an interesting one.
Yeah, this is the thing about Crawl Boys though. They've recently had the buff with the extra battle tactics, so that gives them the extra opportunity to perhaps score higher. Like you said, Gobsback now being almost like a fundamentally direct choice when it comes to either Orcs or Crawl Boys, because one thing to be aware of, if he successfully dispels a spell, your model takes D3 mortal wounds, and if he rolls, I believe it is a 10 or more on his dispel, you take D6 mortal wounds. Having been a victim of a 10 plus dispel, my Goblin Shaman exploded phenomenally. So Gobsback is really useful, very versatile, can move quite swiftly. He's got a good movement range. I think it's like a 12-inch move. And on top of that, with the spell Sneaky Miasma, giving him just that extra opportunity to move around the board. This army has potential now. It was really kind of snubbed for a long time, but with the buffs that Games Workshop have been providing and the latest FAQs, it has legs. And I do think it could do well. Yeah, any other thoughts, Jason, or shall we go on?
Keep going. I just don't know much about Crawl Boys. I've never fought them.
No, that's fair enough. No, absolutely.
Good luck.
Yeah, but good luck.
Good fun with the Crawl Boys, though.
Danny Banks coming in with the Lumineth Realm Lords with the Ymetrica faction, a sub-faction, which means any friendly units that use the Enduring as a rock ability changes enemy rend to dash for -1 and -2 rend attacks. That is shooting and melee. Grand strategy is Overshadow. So once again, all enemy battle line units are destroyed, and they have to have at least one of their battle line units still on the battlefield at the end of the game. He comes in with the Hurricane Wind Mage as a general, bringing in the command trait Shaman of the Chilled Lands, so he knows all the frozen spells. He also then has the spell of Healing Zephyr, which is a casting value of 6 in an 18-inch range. And if he successfully does it, it's a D3 heal to a unit selected within that range. He then has a Scenario Enlightener with the artifact of a Silver Wand. The Silver Wand allows you to cast an extra spell in your hero phase. Each time, it's not once per battle. Each of your hero phases, you can do it. Bringing in the Protection of Hish, which is a casting value of 8, 9-inch range, but provides a 5+ ward aura for units that are wholly within that 12-inch bubble. He then is brought in Silverness, so a great model. I love the model, I really do, and great abilities there. For the battle line, he has got 5 Alarith Stone Guard. He's got 10 Venari or Orlan Wardens, 5 Alarith Stone Guard again, and then 5 Venari Dawn Riders. Now, with the Dawn Riders, they have the speed of Hish, which allows them. Jason, you may need to check this one for me if possible. But the speed of Hish, I believe, is that they can run and charge. But if you can check that for me, that'd be great. And then he has the Alarith Spirit of the Mountain as a Behemoth. And not surprisingly, but why not? He then brings in Gotrek Gunnison as well, a fantastic model. Battle Wedging, so he's a 1-drop at 2k points. Once again, we don't have a UK BCP ranking for this individual, but a few things to consider whilst Jason is just checking that spell for me, is that his Wind Mage has a few abilities. One of them is the Fan of Redirection, so he gets a standard +1 save against any missile attacks that come into that model, but any 6s to save against that shooting against him are then deflected at an enemy unit within 9 inches of him and do mortal wounds back to that enemy unit. It's quite nice, quite nice. He also has Wind Leap, which means that wind chargers starting a move within 6 inches of this Wind Mage change their move characteristic to 16 inches and can fly. So that's pretty awesome. And then on top of that, he then has Move Like the Wind, which means that when he's piling in, he doesn't actually have to finish closer to the enemy unit that he was initially piling into. And at the same time, if he charges in the same turn, he has a 6-inch pile-in option. Have you been able to find that spell?
Yeah, it's double movement.
Double movement, is it? Double movement. Okay, gotcha. Okay, cool. The Enlightener also then brings in 2 options. Deep Thinker, which means once per battle, they can auto-cast a spell with a casting value of 9. Now, one thing I will point out here to anyone who's thinking, oh boy, let's do this, not that they're doing with this particular one, oh, let me give Merciless Blizzard to the Enlightener and then they're auto-casting it. No, it's an auto-cast of 9. It does not mean that you auto-cast a spell and it has a value of 9. You still need to roll that 12 if you were attempting to do it. So you can't do that sort of thing. There's been a bit of confusion about this. It has been rectified. And then he also has the Rune of Enslay, which if he successfully casts a spell from the Law of Hish on a 3-up, they can resolve the effects a second time on another unit. So not on the same unit, but on another unit. So you can get double the benefit from them. So that's quite cool. And on this, I've got to say, he has also got the Suffocating Gravetide, Malevolent Maelstrom, and the Haitian Twin Stones. So overall, a good bulk of endless spells there available to them to use. Your thoughts then, Jason?
Lots of, wizards, LRL. I'm just trying to work out some of the synergies here. So, I mean, he's got speed, he's got a bit of holding power in there. He's got Gotrek.
Yeah.
Gotrek is half an army by himself. He's just hard to put down. I'd love to see what the Behemoth can actually do. I've never actually seen one actually in a fight myself. I know they've been around for ages, but never seen it myself. Really would it be interested in that one?
Yeah.
But
I believe it's the Alarith, the Mountain, and the 2 Stone Guards that have the Enduring as rock ability. So instantly, there's like really giving them kind of a reinforced strength there.
keep them alive.
to keeping him alive. Yeah, Gotrek also, just like you said, he's a powerhouse in his own way. And what's really nice as well, and I must thank Danny for this, is that there are no Sentinels in this one. This is purely a really get in there. Now, don't get me wrong, the Dawn Riders do provide a shooting option. Sephiroth also provides some shooting option there. Dawn Riders, though, with their shooting, ignore ward saves. It's pretty cool on that one. But yeah, you can see certainly with this that there's a big, strong central point or central focus that don't actually have to castle up too much to be able to continue up the battlefield. So this one actually has a well-rounded option, in my opinion. I think it could do well if it goes well, if it goes in the way that he wants it to. And it'd be interesting to see, particularly if this is Danny's first tournament. So. Yeah. Any other thoughts, Sensor, or shall we carry on?
Just like you said, no Sentinels. I didn't catch that, and yeah, it's such a nice list to see without them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Good luck.
Yeah. Good luck, then. Good luck. Moving on to David Clarkson with the Goomspike Gits. He's going to Bad Snatchers subfaction. So basically, if any of his wizards are within 9 inches of another friendly wizard, both of them get +1 to cast. Easy as. Spellcasting Savant as his grand strategy, keeping his wizard general alive. And he has opted for the Indomitable Triumph, which totally makes sense when it comes to Gits. He has got a Madcap Chamber with the Moonface Mommet, which means at the start of the combat phase, he can choose an enemy unit. It does any combat phase, so yours or the opponent's. He can choose an enemy unit within 12 inches of the Madcap Shaman, and it's an additional -1 to their save rolls. He has then given them Merciless Blizzard because why not? It's a 70-point wizard. You don't mind if he messes that one up. His general is a Fungoid Cave Shaman, though, and he's given him the Shaman of the Chilled Lands, giving him access to all the GHB frozen spells. He's given him the Staff of Sneaky Stealing, which in this instance is the option to dispel, and I believe it's if he casts it on, if he dispels on a 10-up, then he also can take away an enemy's artifact off them on that one. And then he has a spell Itchy Nuisance, which is a casting value of 6 and an 18-inch range. And he can get to pick an enemy unit, and if it successfully goes off, that enemy unit has a strike last effect applied. He then has good old...
The Staff of Sneaky Stealing can only be put on a wizard. You add 1 to the casting roll for the bearer, and each time you unbind a spell, you add an additional 1 to the casting roll.
Oh, so I got completely wrong.
Yeah, and it keeps rolling up. So the more you unbind, the more pluses you get.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm a Gits user. I should know that. Okay.
That's why I didn't even bother checking these ones.
I didn't even put it on my notes because I was like, yeah, I've got this, that's fine. He then has Scragbot, the Loon King, and then he's brought a giant in. He's got one of the Gargants, Big Drog Fort Kicker coming in, and then he has a Loon Boss. He then has 2 reinforced units of Boingot Bounders, so that's 10 in each unit. He has a reinforced unit of Mooncloud Stabbers with 3 barb nets opted in there. And, 2 sets of 3 barb nets, so 6 barb nets in there. And then he has the Gobblepalooza with a spell Squiglaw. And Squiglaw has a casting value of 5 and an 18-inch range. And if it successfully goes off, the unit he has chosen get to re-roll their charges. In this one, he's going to core battalions of Antorian Acolytes and a Warlord choice. Coming in at 1980 with a 9-drop and a BCP ranking of 1562. So he knows his stuff. My thoughts on this one before I pass on to Jason, as I am a Gits player, is I'm curious to see how this one does. It's curious to see what happens when you put a Gargant in with this Gits army. That's a 35 wound model there. And he does have the ability of Grievous Halitosis, which means at the end of the combat phase, he gets to pick an enemy unit within 3 inches of him. He rolls a dice for every model in that unit, and on a 6, they take a mortal wound. So a nice little finish on some mortals there. But it's curious to see that. Scragbot coming in, good to see, and considering he's gone with Bad Snatchers as well, it's just adding in the buffs there, potentially giving Scragbot +2 to casting, because he gets a natural +1 already. And the boycott banders, fast and hard hitting, they can be. As long as you smash hard, then they keep going. But Jason, your thoughts?
Once again, lots of spell casting. Boingot Bounders, I've seen them do really well, and I've seen them when you've played me with them. They go in and they just fell over.
Yeah.
It's interesting to see a list basically pretty much built around them. Once again, you'll hear me say in a minute that Giants, I've got a fascination with Giants at the minute, so I think that's actually a really nice little addition into the list. 35 wounds, I mean, in the nicest way, Gits are usually lower wound models. So getting that on there, he'll just basically go in and just take hold, go smash.
Yeah.
And there's not really, I think it's actually a really interesting addition. Yeah, I mean, everything else you've already said pretty much. Scrygrot with his spell is still strong, even in this new phase where you can dispel it better. It's still hugely strong.
Yeah. Oh, no, Scragwat's a great choice. I know that in my personal list, I've taken him out just to kind of tinker with it, but I can't, I still always have a love for him. And like you said, his own personal spell, which is the roll casting value that he rolls it on, is the number of dice he rolls for potential mortal wound output. He has presence, and he has a 12-inch bubble around him for the bad moon. So he does things for the army. He's a great synergizing model. Absolutely. And the boycott bounders, they can work. Well, when they're going on the charge, that's a -2 to attacks and 3 damage on their spears. So they can punch when they need to. But like you said, they can fall over as well. You gone?
No, it's like Skaven and Gits where the whole point of the army is to have a bit of fun. If it fails horrifically.
Yeah.
It's just going to be a funness to actually play with. I'm not sure exactly play against because of the movement. Boingo Bounders just literally jumping over everything.
Yeah, yeah.
But I like it.
Yeah, I do as well.
I like a lot of
his
armies,
kits,
but
so you're ticking the right box for me already. it's what it is. But good luck, David, on this one. Hope you do well. Moving on to Ian Hodgson King, bringing in our second Stormcast Eternals list. He's gone in with the Scions of the Storm, so for each unit deployed, he can set another one in reserve. He's gone with the Hammer Sigma subfaction, which means that so long as his units are wholly within 12 inches on an objective, they get a 6-up ward save. And then he's got the grand strategy of Slaughter Sorcery, which means that no wizards should be left on the battlefield at the end of the battle. Which is kind of curious, because when we go into his list, he has a Knight Incantor, who's his general. He's gone with the command trait of Eater of Magic, which means if he successfully unbinds a spell on a 5-up, that caster forgets the spell. He then has the spell Celestial Blades, casting value of 5, 18-inch range. And if he does so, once again, he gets to choose a friendly unit within range, and they get +1 to wound for their melee weapons. And then he's bonded into a Cronspine. He then has the Knight Incantor coming in with the artifact of Mirror Shield. The Mirror Shield basically means that the bear can't be targeted by range attacks outside of 9 inches. So giving him a bit of protection and moving on the board. And then he's got a Merciless Blizzard to do a little bit more of the magic there. And then he has a Lord Relictor with the Translocation Prayer. So that's the teleporting option on a casting value of 3. He then has 2 reinforced units of Dracothian Guard Fulminators, a unit of Secretors, with 2 of them holding Great Maces. He then has a Conspine Incarnate, and then he also then brings in the end of spell a Days Arcanum and a Malevolent Maelstrom. Now, Days Arcanum, I actually had to check because it's not what I normally see on the battlefield. This is an endless spell, has a casting value of 5, and a 3-inch range. But basically what happens is the caster essentially sits on top of it, and it gives them the fly ability and a 12-inch move. In addition, they can attempt to unbind one more spell when they want to. And on top of that, just for extra frivolity, -1 to hit the caster who's sitting on the end of the spell, just in general, shooting and melee, that is. He's taken a Battle Regiment, meaning that on 2k on the nose, he's a 1-drop, and his UK BCP ranking is 2,171. Thoughts, Jason?
He's managed to get a Kronspine, which is an incredibly sticky model, with 2 reinforced fulminators, which are going to be sticky models. It's going to be a hard list to fight. I love the Grand Strat Slaughter of Sorcery just because he has to kill his own units. I think it's a bit of fun. 2 of his heroes have to die. I think it's going to be a tough army to shift. I really do. Those fulminators are tough. The Kronspine it can be taken down, but it does take a concentrated effort on it to really knock it down.
Yeah.
It's going to be a sticky army.
You can certainly see that. I bet the chances are he's going to run into the battlefield and do kind of like an Arnie bit of "kill me" sort of thing, because not only will he help towards his grand strategy, but then it makes the Kronspine go go crazy, and a lot of people are nowadays liking that option because also it adds into the battle tactics. If you can unbond a Kronspine, there's a battle tactic there for you. So why not give it to yourself? It's nice to see. And with the 2 sets of Draconian Guard Fulminators, instead of taking dragons, and they have field presence, the Fulminators. I've fought them a number of times. They have the ability to stay on the battlefield, especially 2 sets of 4. And they do have a punching capability. They're big models, admittedly, but when they get in there, they do work. They certainly make up for their points. Good luck on that one, Ian. It's good to see Stormcast on the battlefield. Isabella Moore coming in then with Silverness. She's taken the Oaken Brow Glade, which means basically when referring to any damaged tables, they half the wound count that the model is taken to determine which line to work from. The Season of War in this instance is the Burgeoning, which means friendly units that did not charge and are wholly within 9 inches of an Awakened Wildwood get 6 up auto. And then finally, she's gone with Spellcasting Savant, meaning keeping her Wizard General alive. In this instance, though, she's brought in a Lady of Vines, which is great to see, I have to admit. Not often you see them on the battlefield, but they are. In this instance, they've gone with the Regrowth spell. The Regrowth spell is a casting value of 5 and an 18-inch range, and if successfully cast, he gets to heal d6 wounds to a unit wholly within range of the caster. Tree Lord Ancient, reinforcing the Regrowth spell in case the Lady of Vines either falls or wants to do a different spell. Spirit of Dirthu, coming in with the Greenwood Gladius. The Greenwood Gladius means that at the start of the combat phase, they add D3 attacks to a weapon profile. And considering Dirthu only has 1 melee weapon profile, you know which one is going on. The big ouchie sword. He then has a Warsong Revenant, who's the general, coming in with the Spell Singer command traits. So like we said before, they can choose an Awakened Wildwood, visible, and they can do the effects of any spell casting from that Wildwood, but not endless spells. And then they've gone with the Tree Song spell, which is casting value of 7 and 16-inch range. And if they are successful, they get to pick 1 Awakened Wildwood within the range. And until the next hero phase, there's +1 to render melee attacks to friendly units wholly within 9 inches of that Wildwood. Bringing it in on the battle line, 3 Tree Lords, because that's what Oaken Brow is about, and you've got to love it. And then they brought in the Spiteswarm Hive and the Glade Worm. Now, the Glade Worm is, once again, an odd one that you don't normally see. The Glade Worm is a casting value of 7 and a 6-inch setup range. But once it's moved, any enemy unit within 1 inch of it suffers D3 mortal wounds. And any Silverness unit within 6 inches of it on a 3-up heal D3 wounds. So quite nice to keep that supporting the Tree Lord on top of the Lady of Vines or the Tree Lord Ancient, supporting them with additional heals. The Lady of Vines has a couple of extra benefits and abilities. For example, Rouse to Wrath. Once per battle on a 2-up, they can bring in 10 Dryads free of charge. So that's quite cool. The writing vines is at the start of the combat phase. If within 3 inches of any enemy units, they can either choose to ensnare or protect. Now, if they protect, there's a -1 to hit the Lady of Vines, and if they ensnare, then the Lady of Vines gets a +1 to hit against the enemy units. So you get the choice to be more defensive or offensive on that one. In this instance, though, they've gone with the Linebreaker Corps Battalion, so one built for the monsters and the behemoths of the books, coming in on a 7-drop at 2k on the nose, and a no UK BCP ranking, so potentially a new player. Jason, your thoughts?
Really, really interesting. It's one of the more, well, in my mind, one of the more successful Silverness things of just, you're going to struggle to actually hurt them. They're giant creatures, monsters, so they don't go down easily anyway. And with the healing on there, you're going to, as soon as you start hurting one of them a lot, they're going to get so much healing on them, they'll just go back up to full anyway.
Yeah.
I'd actually like to play this. I don't think I'll do very well against it, but I'd like to play it just to actually see all these trees on the board.
So, yeah, sorry, go on. Sorry.
I was going to think that there isn't. You get line breaker, so I mean, there isn't really much option for any other book or battalions or anything.
No. She could have actually gone with a one with like command entourage with the extra 3 heroes. That is an option that she could have gone with, but each to their own. It still wouldn't have dropped the drop count any further. Yeah, I personally fought the Tree Lord list, something very similar to this, and it hurts because with the hit and fade option, Spirit of Durthu comes in, knocks you apart, laughs and waves goodbye as he disappears off, and then you're not able to swipe back. And if as long as you don't have more than one Tree Lord in combat, you keep doing that sort of thing, and it really keeps them up. It keeps them up and very mobile. I know you said you want to play this army list. I don't like it. It's scary. I've fought this kind of list twice now, and both times I've come off licking my wounds. So yeah, it's a painful list. Yeah, Isabella, if this is your first tournament, then good luck, and I hope it does well for you. Moving on to Jack Davenport and coming in with our second Orruk Warclans army. In this instance, he's gone pure Bone Splitters. Now, he's chosen the Icebone faction, which means unmodified melee wounds of 6 do mortal wounds equivalent to the weapon's damage characteristic. Now, just make note of that one. It is unmodified wound rolls of 6. Okay, you can't buff it off or anything like that. Grand strategy is war. So once again, the general or a battle line unit has to be wholly within the enemy territory at the end of the game. He's coming with good old Wurgle Prophet with his Stink Eye as the general. Has a command trait of the Shaman of the Chilled Lands, so allows him to have access to the frozen spells in the GHB. He then has the artifact of Glowing Tattoos. So basically that gives him, normally they have a 6-up ward save. In this instance, with his artifact, it gives him a 4-up ward save. And then he's gone with the Glowy Green Tusks, which is a casting value of 5 and an 18-inch range. And then he can choose a friendly ball boy unit. And if they do so, he gets to improve the rend of the unit's mount's attacks by an additional 2. So quite painful. He then has Wardock with the Hoarfrost spell, so a great option to kind of manipulate the characteristics on one of the units. He then has Kragnos coming in to support 3 units of Savage Ball Boys and 2 units of reinforced Savage Ball Boy Maniacs. So if you consider the idea that in that army there is 25 Ball Boys and 1 Kragnos leading the charge on that one. They have Antorian Acolytes and a Battle Regiment, bringing him in at a 3-drop, 1990, and a BCP ranking of 8157. So a really nice list here. What are your thoughts, Jason?
Super fast, super maneuverable. There's so many battle tactics you can get with this army. They're bones, apart from Kragnos, obviously, they're bone splitters, so they don't generally survive too long.
No.
But I love the fact of its bone splitters. Wurgle Prophet, his Stink Eye is hilarious. You just keep staring at someone until either you choose to stop, he dies, or you die.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. It's stupid but hilarious. I think it could do good with the speed and the basic presence and the ability to possibly block the enemy in again. I think it could be all right with Kragnos's thing. Does Kragnos's 3d6 charge go to the ball boys?
It does, yeah.
So they'll get wherever they want.
Exactly.
I like it. Was Jack the person you fought first in feud?
This is what I'm trying to remember. I have, for basically viewers,
I'm
I have
sure
fought
this is a
a
list
Ball
of themes.
Boys based army myself at one of our tournaments we recently went to, Feud in Defence. And I'm pretty sure Jack is the person who I did go against. And it was he went full Ball Boys. So if you think 25 Ball Boys is a lot, he had, I think we counted 45, 50 balls on the battlefield. And that was the match I played him was risk without reward. And yeah, that was just a slaughter on both sides. There really was. Admittedly, what I like about this list compared to that one is that Kragnos can really hold up the enemy, allowing those ball boys to come out of combat if they need to, because that initial charge is really good for the ball boys. But once they're then caught in combat, they've only got like a 6-up save, 5 or 6-up save, and then a 6-up ward save. And they can fall quite quickly. So having Kragnos there, kind of really reinforcing it, allowing those ball boys out of combat if they really want to, without the fear of reprisal, it adds an element that perhaps the 50 ball boy army never had before. So I'm curious to see how this one plays out. But yeah, so it's cool to see Bone Splitters. It's something that you don't see that often because of just how weak they are compared to the Iron Jaws and everything, but it's a laugh. So unless you have any other thoughts, Jason?
Keep going. I think it's just going to be a fun army to play against because it's just going to be speed. Bone Splitters are always a bit, I want to say a bit flimsy, but
yeah,
I don't want to be horrible to them because they have got the force there.
Yeah,
it's just you just try and pin them in. When they will, I'm sure they will basically force you to slow down.
Yeah, no, of course, of course. Well, good luck, Jack. And if I did fight you in the previous one, it's great to see how you manipulated the list to bring Kragnos in. So good luck on that one. I hope you do well. Bringing it on then to Kenneth Gibson Chetri. Sorry if I just messed up your surname there. Apologies. He's brought in the Disciples of Tzeentch. And his coven he's chosen is Host Arcanum. So basically in battle rounds 1, 3, and 5, once per turn, you can auto-unbind a spell. Now he has put on here the Mortal Realm of Shaman, which is curious whether or not it's just more preference than anything. But considering we're stuck in Gur, I don't know if you get any bonuses or not. I don't think so. But anyway, he has a grand strategy of spellcasting Savant, which means keeping a Wizard General alive, which is a go-to for most Tzeentch armies. And he has opted for the Triumph the Indomitable. He has an Ogroid Thaumaturge as his general. Now, the command trait on this one is Cold Demagogue, which means if the first casting roll that he completes with that model is a double and is not a miscast and not double one, it cannot be unbound. At the same time, he also gets 2 fate points instead of 1, so quite nice. And then he's given him the Merciless Blizzard spell. He then has Gaunt Summoner of Tzeentch on there with the artifact of the Eternal Shroud. So whilst the bearer is on the battlefield, when he's using the Destiny dice, every time he uses one, he rolls another dice, and a 5-up, he gets a Destiny dice back. He then has Hoarfrost. It's a great manipulator on the characteristics. He then has the Blue Scribes and Kairos Fate Weaver, because why not? Great option to have in your leaders, particularly with Tzeentch, and more so with the GHB. His battle line, he then has 10 Pink Horrors of Tzeentch, 2 sets of Screamers of Tzeentch, and then 6 Zangor Enlightened on disc, which are heavier and stronger than I actually thought they were, I have to admit. He then comes in with the Umbral Spell Portal, Malevolent Maelstrom, and a Tome of Eyes. Now, the Tome of Eyes is an endless spell with a casting value of 5 and a 1-inch range. Essentially, it gets connected to the caster if it's successfully casted. Whilst the caster has this on him, he can move with it, unlike the one with the Git where they can't. He gets to reroll casting rolls if he wants to. He also learns an additional spell, which is part of the end spell, called Parchment Curse, which can do D3 mortal wounds to an enemy unit, and for each enemy model slain, that unit also suffers a -1 to their bravery for the rest of the battle. So quite nice on that one. Coming in on this one with the Antorian Acolytes and a Battle Regiment. He is a 3-drop at 1990 with a UK BCP ranking of 4832. Now, before I hand this over to Jason, I just wanted to say with the Gaunt Summoner of Tzeentch, he has a couple of abilities. One of them that's on his war scroll is the Silver Portal, which means that after this unit has been deployed, he can choose up to 2 units to go set up in reserve. So he can do that as soon as he's put down that Gaunt Summoner. At the same time, he also has the ability called Lords of the Silver Tower. Now, this was a curious one for me to read because I'm not very knowledgeable on Tzeentch myself. But once per battle, at the end of any phase, if that Gaunt Summoner has been picked to be a target of an attack, be it melee or shooting, by an enemy hero within 9 inches of him, he rolls 2d6. Now, I want to point this out. It doesn't mean that any wounds or mortal wounds have gone through. You just have had to have some that have been potentially allocated to him and he's saved them off, right? He rolls 2d6, and if the number is greater than the enemy's wound characteristic, the enemy hero's wounds characteristic, the enemy hero is removed from play. But you cannot bring him back because he has not been slain. So he's just taken off. Essentially, for all lore purposes, he's locked away in the Silver Tower, and he's no longer usable. Wow. I mean, when I read that, I had to read it 2 or 3 times just to try and get my head around the potential of that. Okay, he's a 7-wound hero. No, it doesn't have to be 7 wound. Is it 7-wound hero? No, just an enemy hero. So it could be it could really mess around with someone's little model running around the board or something, or one of those bigger models. So, like if you had a Sigfold on the board, you can easily just take him off the board. So great potential there. Jason, your thoughts, though?
Well, like you, I'm not overly au fait with this army because I've never actually had to fight them yet.
No.
The only thing I have fought is horrors before, and that is annoying.
Yeah.
The fact of they double in size when you hurt them. When I fought them with my Mortec, I overpowered them, hurt them, and then suddenly they overpowered me. But apart from that, from what we've read through on this list, it is a fairly solid list. I think it could be an interesting list to play against, but also it's just going to be painful.
Yeah.
Spell Portal means you can pretty much get away with Malevolent Maelstrom. That is an amazing endless spell these days.
Yeah. And Humble Spell Portal as well, kind of in further putting out the potential of the war score spells they may have, and just the range of it all. Now, I'm like you. The only time I've actually come across Tzeentch, it was full of pink horrors, and that was it. So I like the idea that pink horrors are kind of going to the side a little bit, and you're now seeing more screamers, Sangor Enlightened, and other options coming out. It's nice to still see the pink horrors on the battlefield, just not just time and time again, just 20 of them or however many you can have in each unit. It's nice to see a mixed list on this one. But it's Tzeentch, so hopefully they do well. And looking at Kenneth's BCP ranking, clearly he knows what he's doing at times, so good luck, Kenneth. As we move on then. No, it's not going. Okay. There we go. I'll manually click here. Now, I have to apologise to this individual because I was meant to Google your name to understand how to pronounce it. So I apologise if I really mess this up. But it's Christoph Zilori? Let's go with that, shall we? You can hit me on the back of the head if ever we meet, if I've got it wrong. He's gone with the Blades of Corn. Sorry?
I think he's in the chat now.
Is he? Oh, Christoph is fine. Oh, yes, you are. Yes, no, good. Yeah, thank you, Christoph. Christoph is fine. Excellent. I'm glad I didn't mess it up too badly for you, sir. um, so you have bought the Blades of Corn with the sub-faction of Reapers of Vengeance, which means any Reapers of Vengeance demon units get a plus. That's maybe a +1 to hit. Sorry, plus exclamation mark. Sure, why not? Any number. No, +1 to hit when targeting a hero. Plus, you gain 1 additional blood type point for each enemy hero slain. Amazing. Grand strategy is Slaughter of Sorcery. Love it. You have to go with it with Corn, which means no wizards are left on the battlefield. In this one, though, he has bought a Bloodthirster of Unthirted Fury with a Handcarved Nullstone, which means he gets to dispel and keep dispelling if he's successful. He has Scarbrand in the list, so a good old Bloodthirster there who has no bounds at times. He has a Massive Corn Bloodthirster who is his general. The command trait of Firebrand means that the general is a priest and knows an additional prayer. And as a consequence, I will just jump to his prayers. He's got Bloodbind, which is a answer value of 3 and a 16-inch range, which he allows him to pick a friendly unit within range, then you get a +1 save. And then he's also got Killer Instinct. Killer Instinct is an answer value of 3, another 16-inch range, and he gets to pick a friendly unit within range and not in combat, and they can make a move there and then. He also then has the artifact of Halo of Blood, which means he gets to strike first. He has a strike first ability. He then has a Bloodmaster in there with 2 prayers. He has Blood Sacrifice, which is an answer value of 4 and a range of 8 inches. He gets to pick 1 friendly unit, and they suffer D3 mortal wounds, but then in addition, you get a blood type back. So good options there. And then he has Bronze Flesh, which is an answer value of 3, 16-inch range. He picks 1 enemy unit not in combat, and they must make an 8-inch move, but must finish closer to the Chanter. So great way of pulling those units in that don't necessarily want to be closer to the Corn units. And finally, he has Valkyrie of Valkyrie the Bloody. So Valkyrie the Bloody had a little bit of a buff and a rewrite when the Corn book came out. She's allowed to be set up off the board, and then when she comes in, she can choose a unit within 10 inches and roll a d6. On a 1, it does nothing, but on a 2 or more, it does many mortal wounds to the enemy unit. And then she's got a pretty good statistic for weapons. Range of 2 inches, 5 attacks with hitting on 3s, wounding on 3s, -2 for 2 damage, just slightly better than most heroes get nowadays. And friendly units are wholly within 16 inches get +3 to their bravery whilst they're within that range of Valkyrie, but they cannot retreat. So yeah, that looks pretty good there. Battle line though, we've got some Blood Warriors coming in on this one. We have a unit of Blood Reavers, a unit of Flesh Hounds with Burning Wall. He then has a Blood Crushers coming in. I believe that's a single unit there, 180 points. Correct me if I'm wrong though there, Christoph. And then he has some Furies. And then he's gone with the Vanguard Battalion and the Battle Regiment, which means
Hold on there. That should be Vanguard and Warlord.
I was about to say, I was just looking at that one and I'm thinking, uh-oh, that's not right because it's not 11 drops. But it's Vanguard and Warlord, which will make sense because he's actually then got the extra prayers across all his people. So 11 drops, 2k on the nose, and Christoph comes in with a very respectable UK BCP ranking of 2,796. Thoughts, Jason? Any thoughts on that one?
Big Demons. Scarbrand has wrecked me before. As a single model, he took out half my army. It's going to be an interesting one. Somebody said it in the chat as well, but Valkyrie, I absolutely loved that model. I think it's just a nice little, just fun piece to use.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just going to be a hard one with 3 big demons out there. It's going to be tough enough with nothing else.
Well, when you've got the likes of a Bloodthirster on the battlefield, that's kind of already a bit of a shock to the system a lot of time. But when you then have a Scarband also kind of running around, admittedly they're not impossible to kill, but when they hit, they can hit like a freight train. And then you have got those other units in there which will get buffed up with the prayers that he's provided. He's got a lot of prayer option there, and they can do things. The Blood Crushers, I believe, have a 2-up save, if I'm correct, so they're not going to go anywhere fast. And then the Furies have great movement shenanigans as well. So with this one, it's good to see Khorne coming up and going in with it. So good luck, Christoph, with this one, sir. I hope you do really well. As we move on, we'll now go back to Disciples of Tzeentch with Laurie Huggett Wild. Once again, he's gone.
2 seconds.
Sorry, Jason. Oh, okay. He's gone in with Hosts Arcanum, and which means battle rounds 1, 3, and 5. Once per turn, they can auto unbind a spell. Grand Strategy Master of Destiny, which means at the end of the battlefield, their Destiny dice have to add up to 9 or more. And then they've gone in with the Triumph of Inspired. So very similar to the one that we had before in this one. He's gone with the Urgoid Thaumaturge as his general with the Cult Demagogue. So just like last time, if the first casting roll is a double and not a miscast, it cannot be unbound. And you also get 2 fate points for that one. He then has come in with the Merciless Blizzard on that general. Kara's Fate Weaver again, as you would kind of expect, and a Gaunt Summoner once again with the 9-eyed Tome. So in this instance, he gets to reroll casting, unbinding, and undispellings. And he's given him the Horfar spell to allow for some characteristic manipulation. Battle line wise, we've got 10 Kyric Acolytes, we've got 3 Screamers of Tzeentch, another 10 Acolytes, and then he's allied in 22 Blissbarb Archers. And then he also has 6 Urgoid Therodons with the Mark of Tzeentch on there. To finish it off then, he then has the Endless Spell of Burning Sigil of Tzeentch and the Demonic Simulacrum. Now, the Demonic Simulacrum is a casting value of 7 and a 12-inch range. And when this is done, basically after the spell is moved, you roll 9 dice for the closest unit within 6 inches. Now, it doesn't say enemy unit, it says unit. For each 5-up, they take a mortal wound. But if the unit has a wizard keyword, it's on a 4-up, they take mortal wounds. So it has potential. Coming in with a 1-drop, because he's taken the Battle Regiment, at 1970. No BCP ranking just yet, so potentially another new player, but a very well-rounded list. You're back, Jason. Any thoughts on this one? It's very similar to the last one we saw, but your thoughts?
Interesting to bring in the Slaanesh Archers on this one as allies. Blissbarbs are really good at shooting, so it'll be a nice little addition to this. I'm not seeing any horrors, which is beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. I don't know how to fight, how to judge this. I think it could be good, but I need to play with Tzeentch some more before I do that.
Yeah. The one thing I would say with this one as well is, Laurie, if you are watching, the one thing I would suggest you definitely do is advise what your acolytes are armed with, because the acolytes, if they take the sword and shield, they get a 6-up ward save, but they do have the option of taking paired weapons instead, which means they lose that 6-up ward save. So just one thing I would just note on there. But this is a curious army. I've never seen one of this kind of build. And particularly with the Blissbarb Archers in there. That's a lot of shots coming out of the Blissbarb Archers. So it will be interesting to see how you do on this one. And we both bid you good luck on this one, because you could do well. So yeah, good luck. Moving on to Luke Ridstall Smith. Now, Jason, I know you are a Sons of Bahamut enthusiast, a new enthusiast. So I would let you talk through this one if you like.
Okay. So, as for people's knowledge, I'm not a player of Sons of Bahamut yet, but it's quite probably going to be my next army. I really do love these sorts of ones. So, Stomper Tribe. The sub-faction abilities don't really apply to this army because they only apply to the Man-Crusher Gargants. But the reason you take it is to get access to certain artifacts and command traits. Grand Strat, kill all battle line and have one of your battle lines still alive. Everything's battle line in your army for this. So just basically kill all the enemy battle line. You shouldn't have an issue doing that with this. Unless they've got some stupid 12 units, which some people have. Great though, I absolutely love it. Okay, so King Broad. Obviously a giant. The main thing he has is talk through the very top line of him, because 4 giants, there's not much really else that needs to be said. 35 to 40 wounds a model. They're just hard to take down. They just walk in and just start smashing. King Broad, though, his death grip, and most of them have death grip, or a few of them have death grip, it does 2d6 damage instead of d6 when you're fighting monsters, so really look after your monsters against King Broad. Apart from that, his attack profiles are absolutely insane, that they can do some serious damage. I mean, you've only got 4 models on the board, but absolutely love it. The Beast Smasher. Really, this is sort of the list I would want to make, by the way, because it has all those fun bits from all the different models. Beast Smasher. When he's within 3 inches of an enemy monster, his big attack, the Menhir Club, you change the attack characteristic down to 1. But if he gets through and gets that, which is 3s and 3s, I think it's 3s and 2s -2 rend, or maybe -3 rend to start with, it does 5d6 damage. It is insane against that. Otherwise, it's still pretty powerful against non-monsters, but he will destroy any monster he comes across. One thing I should have said about King Broad, he is a priest. His prayer, casting value, prayer value even, of 3, gives +1 to rend for all the big attacks for basically everything you see there.
Wow.
So that big smash of 5d6 damage will be on -4 rend against monsters. So you still got to get it through, which is sometimes a challenge, even on 2s. But it could absolutely decimate one singular big piece in your army. Kraken Eater. We've spoken about it before. The hand-carved nullstone icon lets you dispel and keep dispelling if you're successful. Big thing, he has the death grip, so can do 2d6 damage instead of d6 when he fights monsters on that weapon. And he's the one that can actually move objectives. If you control an objective and you're within 1 inch of it, you can move that objective 2d6. And you can just kick it around and just move it away from your enemy, towards the enemy, even if you then want to move further into the enemy range.
Yeah.
It's just a nice little thing. All of these models count as a huge amount on the objectives because they're giants. The War Stomper, big things for that. Their Boulder Club. I should go. He's the general. The monstrously tough command trait gives him +5 to wounds, so he's on a 40 wound model then. The Club of the First Oak gives him, where are we? Heal 1 wound in your hero phase, and also when he has 25 or more wounds attached to him, he gains a 5 ward save. So as he starts going down, he gets even tougher. 2 things to call out for him. Boulder Club, one of his big attacks. The attack's characteristic is equal to the number of models within 3 inches, up to a maximum of 10, for standard 2 rend, 2 damage each. So pretty powerful. And one of my other really fun little things with this, Hurled Body. You pick a model within 3 inches, roll a d6, add modifiers to it, which starts at +2. If your roll is double the wounds characteristic of that model, it is slain. And then you pick up the body and throw it at another enemy unit within 12 inches, who suffers mortal wounds equal to the wounds characteristic on a 4+ saves.
Awesome.
So it's just another bit of fun. That's pretty much all there is to say. It's nice and simple. Bosses of the Stomp is one of their battalions, gives them a 1-drop and an artifact enhancement, I should say. The Ambertone totem was run and charge, so the Beast Smasher can run and charge, so he's going to hunt your monsters down, simple as that. 1930, which seems pretty low, but then you're talking about giants. They don't do anything cheap because they're giant monsters. 1-drop. UK BCP ranking of 2699. That's I want to see this army do well because it's the army I want to run shortly. Simple as that. So good luck, Luke. I
Yeah,
really,
I've
I
never
really
thought.
do hope well. Sorry, go on.
No. I was going to say I've never fought Suns as well. You know, and considering the number of matches you and I have played and everything against different opponents and everything, never had the opportunity to fight Suns. And in part, I want to fight them. In another part, I don't because I feel they will just cream my forces that I either use or have used in the past. Um, but there's a lot of fun in them, and it's nice to see that when they revised the book, that they gave them a bit of almost Timmy mentality. There's a element of like almost like wrestling into it, where you can kind of do these monstrous actions that are available to them. So four models on the board. You know that when the one dies, that's quarter of your army gone. But it takes so much to put one of these down potentially for some armies. Other armies may just rinse them very quickly, but ultimately though, it looks like a fun list. It really does. I hope you do well as well, Luke. And you'll clearly have Jason supporting you in the corner there.
Oh, yeah.
Right, shadow of a doubt. Okay, so then moving on, we have got Matthew Goldsborough. Now, Matthew is very good. I'm just going to point out on this one, he's 36th in the UK on the BCP rankings. We've known him attending many tournaments and everything like that, and he's a great player. He knows his stuff. So hopefully if you go against him, you'll have a great game. Saying that though, however, he has bought Soulblight Gravelords, and he's bought the Legion of Night, which once again, as we have said before, gives him the option to do a counter charge in the enemy charge phase, and he has the option of a heroic action teleport. Spellcasting Savant means that he has to keep his Wizard General alive, and he has given himself the option of Bloodthirsty for the Triumph. In this list, though, it's a bit different. So he's got Nagash in with his Soulblight Gravelords, taking up a full 900 points. He then has a Vampire Lord, which is his general. Now, with this one, he has a command trait of Unbending Will. So after deployment, you pick one reserve unit. When it is called in, it can be set up within 7 inches of an enemy unit instead of the typical 9 inches. He then gave him more base claw, which we've heard about before. So long as he's outside of 3 inches from any enemy units, +2 to the casting for wizards, wholly within 12 inches, I believe it is. He gets it plus the bonus anyway. And then you got the Merciless Blizzard spell, Necromancer with the Horfrost spell, and then Manfred von Casting with the Fading Vigor. So with the Fading Vigor on this one, that's why I was looking at my notes and I was like, that doesn't make any sense.
Let me just stop you there for 1 second.
Yeah,
the command trait on Unbending Will.
No, you're
summonable
right.
models within 12 inches of the general counts 2 on an objective instead of 1.
Sorry, guys. I was looking at my notes on my
like
other screen, and I had gone down to the next list. So I was reading with so much confidence. But you're absolutely right. Yeah, summonable units within 12 inches of the general counts 2 on an objective. Sorry, gave the game away for the next list. So apologies on that one, Matthew. But yeah, more base claw. Yeah, as I said, gives a +2 to casting. Manfred von Casting coming in with Fading Vigor, casting value of 6 in an 18-inch range. He gets to pick one enemy unit, and as we said before, they get -1 attack, but if the spell casting is 9 or more, then it's -2 attacks. He then, because he hasn't got that many points left over, he then has 3 Felbats, 20 Death Rattle Skeletons, another 3 Felbats, and then Umbral Spell Portal and Malevolent Maelstrom. Now, the one thing with taking the Umbral Spell Portal and Nagash is Nagash has a War Scroll spell called we call it a Deathly Finger or something like that. Basically, it's one of these
Hand of Dust.
Hand of Dust. Thank you, Jason. Basically, what it does is he chooses a model or a unit within 3 inches of it. Yeah, within 3 inches of it, and he essentially then puts out his hand, and one has a dice in, the other one doesn't. And if you choose the one with the dice, the model dies outright, slain. Killed off. If you choose one that doesn't have the dice in, it lives. So simple as that. So with the Umbral Spell Portal, he doesn't have just 3 inches. He has 3 inches plus the Umbral Spell Portal range. I'm petrified of it whenever it's happened to me. It has happened to me on a number of occasions. and I have become a cropper for it, because of it. Antorian Acolyte is one of his battalions and a battle regiment, meaning that in 1990 he is a 4-drop. Jason, what do you think about Matthew's list?
It is a really different Soulblight list. I'm happy to see a bit of variance in this. Nagash works in Soulblight really well, so I can't say anything about that. Nagash in himself is scary, but then you're paying the points, 900 points for him. In Soulblight and in Soulblight stuff, I think it's worth it. OBL not so much anymore. I can see him basically going to kill, but Manfred is once again crazy powerful. I'm just wondering where the numbers are, but if Matthew's taken this, knowing who he is, there's a reason for this. I just can't see the presence 100% on the board. Skeletons are good, but I mean, 20 of them could go down fairly quickly. But there is a reason why he's done it, and I'm sure he knows what he's doing. So I would still be very worried about this one.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's got Manfred on the board as well. So there's a bit of a small powerhouse there. He's also got Vampire Law, which is never to be sniffed against or sniffed at. And Nagash, although he is a spellcaster, he can do some work in combat. I wouldn't necessarily suggest it, but he can. I'll be curious to see how Matthew does on this one. Whether or not he's using this as an opportunity to kind of list test ahead of like the London Grand Tournament or something. I don't know, but it's interesting to see what he's done or how he's done this one, see just what kind of comes out of it all. But Matthew, if you are watching, then very good luck to you, and we know you do well generally in tournaments, so hopefully this list works for you. Moving on then in that case, we're now going to the list I did start reading from on my notes. We got Michael Lois coming in with Beast of Chaos. He's gone with the All Herd faction, which means that basically in each battle shock phase, he can return D3+3 models to selected units. And now these units, I believe, are the Gores, Ungores, and those kind of units. The grand strategy is Protect the Herdstone, which is a ballsy one. But a cool one nonetheless, which basically means no enemy units within 9 inches of the Herdstone by the end of the battle, and the Herdstone cannot have been smashed to rubble, so it has to be still active. And then he's opted for the Bloodthirsty Triumph, if he so has a chance to take it. His leaders then, he has a Doomball as his general with Bestial Cunning. So this is what I was talking about before, that after deployment you can pick one reserve unit and then when it's called upon it can be set up within 7 inches or up to 7 inches away from enemy units instead of the traditional 9. And then he has the Brave Blast Trumpet, which we spoke about before, which means he can bring in an extra unit of Ungor Raiders or Gores or Ungors. And then on a 2-up they come in, but if it's on a roll of 1, it doesn't happen until the following turn. He has a great Bray Shaman with the Vicious Stranglethorns spell, which is a casting value of 5 and an 18-inch range, and basically chooses one enemy unit, and they cannot pile him. So a good option there. Another great Bray Shaman with exactly the same kind of setup. He then has 9 Bulgors as one unit at 630 points with great axes. He then has 20 Gores reinforced once with the blades and beast shields, 10 Gores, 1 Cockatrice, which is a great choice, and then 1 further unit of 20 Ungor Raiders reinforced, and then he has a Gorgon coming into the battlefield. So with this one, he has a Battle Reg, which is a 1-drop at 1960 points. UK BCP ranking of 2,586. Your thoughts, Jason?
Models on the board. That Gorgon, from what I was reading about it, is scary. I'm sure it can be taken down, but it's the thing of he can heal so many different ways and everything that, yeah, okay, he'll hurt him, but he'll pick himself back up. He has a special monstrous rampage that increases rend by 1 and can heal up to 3 wounds if you kill a model.
Yeah.
And the other thing he does, he can heal wounds on He can heal wounds on slain models for another ability he does when on the charge.
Okay.
But like you said, 9 Bulgors is just insane. You're paying your points for them, but
yeah.
they will crush most things that they come into contact with. You're going to struggle to not.
Yeah.
And then I think there's just a lot of board presence, and that's what Beast of Chaos should be.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think it's interesting.
No, like the new book allows them to be exactly what they're meant to be with the Beast of Chaos, which is an ambushy style army. So the idea that the Doom Ball with the Bestial Cunning is allowing one of those units to come in 7 inches away from the enemies. I wonder which unit is going to be doing that. Do you know, Jason?
Have a good idea, yeah.
And the Cockatrice also provides a great benefit and a buff to the units around it when they're just outside of combat. They can certainly help with that one. But it's good to see a well-rounded list on this one, and like you said, that Gorgon potentially do good work as well. So, Michael, good luck on this one as we move on. Nicholas Runesink Brown, bringing in, I think, our final Soulblight Gravelords list. Once again, Legion of Night, so we know exactly what that does. He's gone with the Empire of Corpses grand strategy, which means he has to replace 3 summonable units. And he's gone with the Triumph of Indomitable. His leaders are the Witch King with the Unbending Will. So this one is allowing summonable models within 12 inches of the general count as 2 on the objective. And as you can see, he has plenty of those. He has the Necromancer with the spell of Waste Away, which is a casting value of 6 in an 18-inch range. He gets to pick one enemy unit, and they have a -1 to wound and a -1 to damage in melee. And his casting value is 9+, then he does it to 2 units. Vampire Lord with Morbeg's Claw, so we know what that already does with the bonus if he's outside of 3 inches of the enemies, to a bonus to casting. And then he's given a Merciless Blizzard. Vampire Lord with Hoarfrost, allowed to for that characteristic manipulation. And then here we go with 30 Death Rattle Skeletons, 20 Death Rattle Skeletons, 20 Death Rattle Skeletons, 3 Felbats. Just because he didn't think he had enough skeletons, 20 Graveguard, 20 Graveguard, 3 Vehicles of Bloodborne. And then he's come in with Antorian Acolytes
as well.
And what, sorry?
10 direwolves. You missed one of the skeletons.
Sorry, did I not say that? And 10 direwolves. Apologies. It's on there. I didn't say it, so apologies for that one. 12 drop at 1970. Now, he's only got Antorian Acolytes, and although he hasn't got a UK BCP ranking, I'm not sure if he's a new player or so, but he has the potential here of taking a battle regimen, reducing his drops. So purely once again, it's down to individual choice, but curious to see why Nicholas may not necessarily chosen to go battle reg. Any thoughts on this one at all, Jason?
I was just talking about lack of board presence a minute ago. You don't really get much better than that.
Yeah.
I've thought this is more like the Soulblight list I fight, which is just loads of models that do go down and get picked back up, and they are just hard to shift because of the amount of models. I love the Vikanos Bloodborne little tiny men. Nothing great, but I mean, pre-game move a 10-inch. Movement phase can move another 10-inch, so they're really fast.
Wow.
Won't survive very long, but they've got that really nice little screen unit that you can just put up somewhere and just block everything off while the rest of yours comes in. Graveguard, I fought them more than a few times. Well, no, a few times now. And then with Hoarfrost, it makes them scary, and with the other buffs you can do on them as well.
Yeah.
I don't even know where to go about fighting this list.
It's great so presence, isn't it?
So many models.
Yeah. And it's nice to see it's not all zombies as well.
Yeah, it is nice, but then it's all skeletons.
God damn it, we can never be happy. If we're not happy about the zombies, there's the goddamn skeletons. Good versatility as well. Direwolves having that move capability. Like you said, the Vehicles Bloodborne as well. They can use them as a protection, but at the same time, they can use them just to get them around the board. Get onto some of those back objectives they really wanted to and cause a little bit of hassling for the opponent. And then, like I said, the Grave Guards, they can stick around when they need to. But with the Vampire Lords backing them up, and the White King for that matter, it's a good option. Yeah, Nicholas, I hope you do well. It's great to see so many models on the board. You're outnumbering my gits. Yeah, it's good to see. Good luck on that one. Moving on to Owen Summerscales. He's bringing in our second Lumineth Realm Lords list with, once again, Ymetrica, which means that any friendly units that have the Enduring as rock ability changes any rend to dash instead of -1 or -2 for attacks, be it shooting or melee. They have actually gone with the grand strategy of Alurith Aftershock, which means they have to have 2 or more Alurith units contesting 2 or more objectives. So quite a harder one, I would say, for that, because it's a lot more to do on the field. But, clearly it's an option. He's gone with this one, though. He's gone with Teclis coming in on the battlefield. He then has the Alurith Stone Mage as his general. And with this one, he has command trait of Unyielding Toughness, which basically means that, this is the one you didn't give any notes on, Jason, on Unyielding Toughness. Any chance you might be able to check that out whilst I'm going through the rest of the information? Because I haven't actually got his artifact information either.
Oh, yeah, this is the one that I forgot to actually write down. Yeah, I'll get that sorted for you now.
In the meantime, though, he has a spell of Unbreakable Stoicism, which is a casting value of 7 and a range of 12 inches. Basically, he can choose a Stone Guard unit, and their crushing blows are on a 5-up. He then has Hurricane Windmage, which we have spoken about before, has great potential on the battlefield, coming in with a Merciless Blizzard spell. For the battle line, though, he then has a reinforced unit of Stone Guard. He then has a unit of Orlan Wardens. He has a unit of Dawn Riders coming in with the speed of Hish. And then he also has Spear of the Mountains, so going in with the Stone Guard element quite strongly on this one. He has then chosen the Umbral Spell Portal, and he then chosen the Rune of Petrification. With Teclis on the board, though, and a Battle Regiment, it's a 1-drop at 2k on the nose. And we don't have a BCP ranking for him at this stage, so potentially a new player or someone who hasn't necessarily registered against his full name like this or something along those lines. Any information on that command trait at all, Jason?
Yes.
Cool.
The command trait. At the start of your hero phase, you pick one friendly Stone Guard unit wholly within 6 inches of the general, and you add 1 to the wounds characteristic of that unit until your next hero phase.
Nice, okay.
So, nice little buff there. And the artifact, Molten Talisman, add 1 to wound rolls for attacks made with friendly Alurith units wholly within 12 of the bearer, but did not charge in the same turn. Preferably something that they've charged you or you've already got into combat the next turn you use it.
I see. Okay. So once again, great to see an LRL list stepping away from the Sentinel build. More so where you've actually got Teclis in there, Owen. It's really nice to see that the people are seeing that there's more potential with the Stone Guard. Great to see the Spear of the Mountain coming out and seeing board presence on this one. And the Dawn Riders, once again, like I said before, they could ignore ward saves, so great versatility with them. And Wardens coming in as well. So, a nice list at all. Your thoughts, Jason?
It's nice to see non-shooting LRL off, but I've never fought Teclis. Kind of scared of Teclis with the magic at the minute, but still. I reckon those Stone Guard are little hidden gems in that army with the amount they can be buffed up. I think they will go in and they will hurt a lot.
They don't go anywhere. Yeah, they're so tanky.
That's what I mean, but you can +1 to their wounds characteristic now. In the designer's note, it does say you get them back all the way up to 1 wound left on the model, comes to our next hero phase, the +1 wound comes off, you can actually kill a model just starting the turn, because you lose that +1, so then it knocks down that +1 that can be taken off.
Oh, wow, okay.
So it's a way of getting rid of a man before you've even started the turn.
Yeah.
But I think it'd be an interesting one to fight. I like fighting armies, even if I play armies that aren't going to win necessarily. So I just like fighting different armies, different builds. I think they're really good fun.
No, absolutely. And it's just great. I've always been kind of a bit anti LRL when it was tech lists and Sentinels or just Sentinels. But considering you're seeing these kind of armies coming out now where it's more combat orientated, it's one I want to see. It's one I want to play against. I'll probably get destroyed by it, and then we'll complain for some other reason because I'm old and grumpy. But you know what? It's nice to see. And Techless as well. He has great options there with his spell casting, but he's not impossible to put down. I do remember putting him down with a unit of 20 Demonettes back in the old Silverness book. So he's not impossible to kill, but at the same time, he has potential on the battlefield. But yeah, Owen, good luck on this one. We then come up to Peter Long, bringing in the only Caradron Overlord's army list. He's chosen the Skyport of Barak-Nar. So basically, in your hero phase, you roll a dice for each hero, and for each 4-up, you get an additional command point. He's gone with the grand strategy of All Disguise, which means that he has to have one or more sky vessels on the battlefield. And on top of that, no enemy behemoths. So you have to bring down those monsters. I'll go to the bottom of our page on this one with the Caradron code, because essentially Caradron Overlords get to choose additional buffs and the rules as part of their army listing. So they have to choose an article. In this instance, they've chosen Honor Honor is Everything, which means they get a 4-up on their rally whenever they do that command. The amendment to prosecute wars with all haste, which means that in your movement phase, once per turn, you can choose a unit to run 2d6 instead of standard d6. And their footnote, without our ships we are naught. Once per battle, a friendly sky vessel can receive 2 commands instead of the standard 1. As part of his army, though, he has the Archanaut Admiral as his general with the command trait of ex-Grunstock, which means that Thunderers and Gunhaulers can become battle line. And then in addition, once per turn, you can issue a command to them for free. So you're getting all those additional command points and you're getting free options, so what's not to lose? Then he has the Handcuff Nullstone, which is the dispelling opportunities on that one. He then has brought Brock Grungson Lord, Magnate of Barak-Nar, so this is the named Caradron's Overlord character. He then has the Etheric Navigator in there with the Voidstone Orb. So the Voidstone Orb in this instance is that once per battle he can do an auto unbind. And then he has the Engine Master with the Engine Harness. And then he's taken, I suppose, with the points nerfing or the points changes that came with the recent FAQ, he's had to adjust it to what would normally come out in the KO list, or what was coming out in the KO list. He's brought 9 Engine Riggers in, so reinforced twice. He's got 10 Thunderers, and then he's got Gun Hauler. And he's bought 1 frigate with the Prudency Shoots. And the Prudency Shoots basically means that any garrison units within the frigate, if it's destroyed, you don't have to roll for them, they're automatically saved. Essentially, when a frigate goes down, you have to roll dice for each model in the unit. And on a 1, that model is slain. So with the Prudency Shoots, you don't have to roll. And then he's got a second frigate in there. Now, he's gone Battle Reg, but he's still a 3-drop on 2k on the nose. It's a really interesting list to see Engine Riggers getting reinforced not once but twice. And the great thing about Engine Riggers is they get to repair the battle of the sky vessels. So that's a great opportunity to keep one of those vessels alive for his grand strategy. Brock has options. I know, Jason, you've actually looked into Brock, haven't you, on this one? But what are your thoughts on this list overall?
Thunderers are always strong. They're gonna shoot a lot. They're gonna hit a lot. Simple as that. 2 bigger ships, 1 slightly smaller ship, but still, they're gonna cause damage. And their movement is just insane, even with things inside them. Can the engine riggers still jump on the sides of the ship?
No, they can't. They can't no longer hook on.
Okay, so they're a bit. They're still fast enough, but they're not as fast.
Yeah.
But yeah, I found it nice to see what I considered a not completely shooting KO list. There is a bit of melee in there. They want to get into that fight, which is actually quite nice. It's going to be a bit of a difference. Brock Grunstock is... I've never heard of him before. before today because I never actually played KO, luckily, yet. And I really, really like him. I think he is really nice. Um,
Well,
he does mortals. He's got decent
yeah,
range attacks. He's got pretty decent melee attacks. When he charges in, he gets +1 to attack for Skyfarer units. So that's everything in the list minus the actual big ships if they're wholly within 12. So on the Thunderers, I mean, +1 to attack. That's a lot more attacks. Just that
yeah.
+1 can make a huge difference in that army.
Hmm.
In that thing. I think I think it's a different list. I think it could do well, but I think like a lot of these position. I mean, he's got battle tactics covered fairly well, and then you've got the book battle tactics, which I'm not going to say anything, but fairly easily done.
Yeah, they're achievable. That's right. They're achievable. Yes.
But yeah, I think it could be an interesting list to fight. I still think it would absolutely destroy anything I put in front of it, but I think it would still be interesting to see, just to see actually how it would work.
I agree. I like the idea of KO. I was going to do him before the new book came out, and then when the new book came out, I was like, I don't want to fight. I don't want to play a meta army. But now the points come down, I could see the potential in them, or the meta level of them come down. I like to see the potential in them. Not that I'm actually going to collect them, but it's just nice to see an army like this on the battlefield. And frigates are the way at the moment. You know, they're still quite a powerful choice to go with. And like I said, with Brock on the battlefield as well, great synergizing capabilities there for when they do get in combat. So, Peter, good luck with this one. As the only KO player there, I bid you the best of luck. And now we come to, I believe, is our last list. Rob Wales is bringing Slaves to Darkness with the Cabalists list, Legion, which essentially means that all heroes become wizards. And if you use the draw on power heroic action, each other hero within 3 inches of the first one can also use the same heroic action. He's gone with the grand strategy of dominating presence, which means he has to have one of his units in each large quarter of the battlefield. So that has that's quite a possible harder one to do potentially. But saying that though, he has brought a Chaos Sorcerer Lord as his general with the command trait of Arch Sorcerer. So with this one, Jason, I think your notes may be a little bit. Oh, he's Lawmaster. That's it. Sorry, Arch Sorcerer means he's Lawmaster.
Okay.
And with this one, he also has the artifact of the Infernal Puppet, which means once per battle, he can pick an enemy wizard within 24 inches. And before they cast, each time they attempt to cast, they suffer D3 mortal wounds. Kind of crazy.
Marcus, a really fun part there. So D3 mortal wounds on the cast.
Yeah.
And if you miscast as well, you're doing D3 mortals back to yourself as well.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, absolutely.
Primal miscast on that as well. That could be scary for
killing them. Mark Chaos is Zinch, which means he gets a 6-up spell ignore on this one. Now he would normally get command ability, but in this instance, it's not eligible to the army that he's built on this one. Law of the Primal Frost, he's gone with Horfrost, so straightforward enough. He then has Bellicor in here with the Lord of Binding Damnation, which is a casting value of 7 and a 12-inch range. Basically, he chooses an enemy unit and they have the Strike Lask ability added to them. He then has Lord of the Damned with Ruinous Vigor, which is a casting value of 6 and a 12-inch range. He can choose one Slaves to Darkness monster, and they get to use the top row of the damage table, even if they've taken wounds. He then has a Chaos Sorcerer Lord, a second one with the with the Mark of Zinch again. And then as his second spell, he's chosen Demonic Speed, which is a casting value of 7, a 12-inch range, and basically he can choose one of his units, and as long as they're within 18 inches of an enemy unit, they can do a 3d6 charge. And then he's also chosen the Merciless Blizzard spell. And then to go with the Cabalist's Legion, he then has 9 Corvus Cabal, 9 Corvus Cabal, 20 Splinter Fang, All three of those units are undivided, which means that the Mortals and Ogroid units gain the Eye of God's chance on the table. He then has a 3 Vanguard with the Mark of Chaos of Corn, so on the charge they do get +1 attacks. He then has 10 Chaos Chosen with the Undivided, so once again they get an opportunity to roll on the Eye of the Gods table. They have the in the Dread Banner. In this one, what does the Dread Banner do, actually? Do you know, Jason?
I don't. I'm finding out for you now.
Thank you very much.
I'm already on my...
And then, yes, as Raptor said in the chat, a Mutalith Vortex Beast in there. Now, in this one, even though he's got so much in his force there, he's coming in as a 1-drop because of his battle regiment, 2k on the nose, and a UK BCP ranking of 2094. Also to say that on top of that, he has endless spells with the Ace of Void Pendulum, the Maelstrom, Malevolent Maelstrom, and then Quicksilver Swords for that mortal wound output. Did you manage to find out what the Dread Banner does?
I'm getting there.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
It's been a bit slow.
In the meantime, though, looking at this list, Vanguard, 3 of them, they still can do work. Oh, Jason said, we've got it here. Raptor has told us the Dread Banner allows you to roll 2 dice on the Eye of the Gods, and then you pick one of those dice. Thank you for that, Raptor. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Jason, your thoughts on this army list?
Once again, lots of models on the board. Bellicor, although I feel like he's lost some of his spark, he is still really good. He shut down Arkham when I was playing a mate for a turn and just completely stopped him on the tracks. Like Raptor has said, the Mutalith Vortex Beast, it's a really, really nice model. It's got some decent enough attacks, heals up a bit, and then what I found one of his fun abilities. In your hero phase, you pick an enemy unit within 18 inches and roll 2d6. Because he's... Yeah. And on a roll of... You pick one of them, basically. On a roll of 1, you get -1 to bravery for the battle. On a roll of 2, -1 to run, -1 to move, d3 mortals, d6 mortals, or on a roll of 6, which is where you want to be, d6 mortals, and if you kill a model, you get a chaos spawn in its place. So you sort of kill him and turn him into a chaos spawn. It's just a really fun little model to have. But I mean, like I said, his attack profile is nothing to be sort of chucked about. It's 4 attacks, rend 1, d3 damage, 3d6 attacks, no rend 1 damage, all at 2-inch range. So
Can do
for
it
the points, I'm quite happy with that. I mean, we all know what the rest of it does. Splintered Fang is another nice little one. Quite a lot of attacks in there, but only 1-inch range. But wound rolls, 6 to hit to a mortal in it instead of, which is really nice. And you can return 1 model per cooler, basically like their name, the special character in there in your hero phase, which he has 2, if I remember right. He can have 2, so technically you can bring 2 back every hero phase. I think there's a lot of there's some real strong elements there, and there's just a bit of fun in there, which is what I like. A lot of spells for what it is.
Yeah.
And I do really love that. The artifact of making the enemy wizards suffer D3 before they've even attempted to cast the spell.
Absolutely.
I love that little mechanic. I think that's hilarious.
Do that on someone like Nagash. Do that on someone who has like Croak and everything. Yeah, they got multiple spells. They now have to question whether or not it's worth suffering D3 mortal wounds every time they attempt to cast.
There's nothing about successful. It's done before the cast as well. So if the model is killed, that spell just doesn't ever go off because they're dead.
Yeah.
It's done before the casting roll. I think it's just a fun little thing to have.
It's a great option, and particularly in the current GHB where the spellcasting is so prevalent. Most spellcasters are 1 or 2 spellcasting, so you may not get as much from it. but you're not aiming for them. You're aiming for those for the croaks in the battlefield. You're aiming for perhaps the Archaons, or maybe the Nagashes, or even OBR. With their
Falcon.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, and this list has got versatility. You got the Corvus Cabal, which can move around quite well. The Vanguard, which has potential to stick around. Chaos Chosen, which are also once again a very sticky unit. It's a great mix. It really is. Yeah, Rob, good luck with this one. And that, guys, is all the lists. So I just want to do a quick finish up on this one. I want to firstly thank Jody for allowing us to review his list on this one. Like I said, Jason and I have kind of actually seen that if you do future tournaments in this, that we will definitely be looking to sign up. You're in the right area of the UK for us, and overall, it looks like a great tournament. We do wish you the best of luck with it, being your first tournament. To all the people attending, we hope you have a fantastic time there, and you have a great set of battle tactics, battle plans ahead of you. We will certainly be watching it. And we just want to thank you all for allowing us to go through and review your lists. It sounds like a great opportunity where there aren't so many meta lists being presented for this tournament. And with that, hopefully a lot more enjoyable gameplay for you all. If you've enjoyed this, please do leave us a follow. We do other streams, and we try and do at least one a week. We are attempting to do one either later this week or next week, which is called Live from the Bottom Half, and we provide more information and guidance on different elements of the game. We take it from a personal perspective of not meta players, but from the average Joe player, and just trying to give our aspect and perspective on elements. We do also have a YouTube channel, so please check that out, because it also provides you with information that we have completed in the past. And overall, thank you so much for spending your time with us. And with that, Jason, unless you have anything you want to say?
I would say good luck. Enjoy the tournament.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much, guys, and a good night to you all. Bye.
Bye.